Let's see. You holding up the show, honey. Peter, yeah, honey. Peter got to fix his shit. He got that damn Obama Wi-Fi. All right, here you go. Let's see. Hello? Yes. You and your ghetto Obama Wi-Fi.
Listen, I have a brand new phone. I had to update the app,
And
and I
it
came
sounds
back.
staticky. What you get? Did you purchase a brand Obama upgrade 2.0 phone?
Dana, you
It's
know I'm broke.
static.
You know I'm broke.
Yeah, okay. Why it sound like it's a whole bunch of static?
First of all, I couldn't, when I came in the room the first time, I had to update the app. I had to update. Then when I came back in, it wouldn't let me open my mic. Can you hear me? Does it sound better now?
Not really. It sounds like a whole bunch of static, honey. You better take that phone back and get your money back because you got
How
robbed.
about now?
Say testing.
Testing, testing. Fa la la la
Yes.
la 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 la.
Yeah, that's much better.
Beautiful. I had the earpiece. That might have been it.
Probably. You probably need to upgrade your earpiece too.
Listen, I got to crowdfund it.
And I'm like, you couldn't. Okay, so we usually do it Thursday and Sunday, but apparently you about to bounce your ass on a plane and go somewhere tomorrow or today. So we're like, okay, we'll do it Wednesday afternoon. So why you got that, Miss? Why you got that? Change your name and you got a white man as profile. But anyway, so the topic today, will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? And I may have to just change the wording to this title because I don't like it, but I'm not good with titles. Um, I think I'm gonna change it to what I have on YouTube here. Just give me a second because I'm still getting stuff together, honey, because I don't be on space during the afternoon. And shout out to everybody that's listening on X. Carmelo Anthony versus Caysen Allison. Same path, same destiny, question mark. I think that's better, right? Peter? Hello. I can't hear you down. I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Miss, can you hear me? Mr. Joseph? Mr.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can hear you. And good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. Great title, great space. This character is actually from a show called You.
I know.
It's
Isn't he a serial killer?
yeah. Actually, like I'm in the second season, second episode. I'm mad I came across it late. I didn't. I'm not usually into that type. I love action and thrillers, but that was
But you liked it
definitely
so much
suspense.
that you made it your profile pic, honey.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you signaling us with something?
That perhaps that I'm, analytical and calculated, perhaps.
That you may be a serial, deleter.
Nah, don't put that in the atmosphere.
Ida on YouTube, honey. So I created this YouTube channel called The Real Judge Joe Brown 23 for his mayor campaign, his mayoral candidacy 2 years ago. And after the campaign, no, he did not win, but I still wanted to keep this YouTube channel active. So I'm uploading content. And it's usually with him holding a space, which is Tuesday. We did not do a space Tuesday. So now you're going to hear me. And I'm also going to be doing uploads myself, doing reaction videos to other things. But you will hear him when I go live on X every Tuesday, Ida. So it's his channel by name, but it's still my channel because I run it, I create it, I edit it, I upload the content. but I just gave you the background on why I created it. Is for when he was running for mayor. So I'm technically taking over this YouTube channel, and you have to keep content up there to keep the lights on. But thank you for listening, Ida, this afternoon. I really don't do or hold X spaces in the afternoon, whether it's me or the judge. Hi, Trevion. But Peter has to bounce his ass to a concert tomorrow. So where we usually hold the X space Thursday at 9 and 10 and Sunday at 7. So we pushed it to today, and he had the audacity to come up here with some ghetto janky Wi-Fi, but we will proceed, and we'll see how it goes. So Carmelo Anthony and Caysen Allison, will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? Caysen Allison was a teenager who stabbed a fellow classmate 2 years ago in Texas, stabbed his ass 5 times. I don't want to say ass because he died, and I want to show respect. And he got arrested, and his bail was originally 1 million, but it was bumped down to 125, made bail 2 years later. The trial started April 25th. It concluded Monday. The jury deliberated, and they came back yesterday with a verdict not guilty on first degree, but he's guilty on, how you pronounce that?
Criminally
Negligence.
negligent homicide.
Yes, which means you're guilty because you did a violent act towards someone that resulted in death, but you didn't intentionally mean to kill him. I don't understand if you stab somebody 5 times and say I didn't mean to kill that person. One time is one thing. Five, that's a whole nother. However, nobody, especially the national media news, have not been covering this case. Only local media down in Texas. Nobody on X seems to care, right? Nobody on YouTube seems to care. But when it's Carmelo Anthony, national news, everybody on X seems to care. Everybody on YouTube and other social media outlets have been talking about this. Is because he's a black boy and the guy he stabbed was white. Everybody's making it a racial issue. Well, Caysen Allison was a white teenager, high schooler, and he stabbed a Hispanic. No protest, no outrage, no nothing. However, when we look across this nation, there were another 2 kids that look white who were fighting in school, and one put out a knife and stabbed them. No one didn't die. You had another kid out of Texas, went to the school, shot up the school, shot 5 students. He was black. The students were black. And of course, down in Florida, massive shooting on college campuses. This is a national crisis, but people are making it about race with Carmelo Anthony. So I want to ask the question, will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? Self-defense, didn't mean to kill him, and he said it. Is he okay? Right? When the police picked him up.
So
So that's a discussion that's on the table. And if you want to request to come up, please do so. Go ahead, Peter.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you want, try to co-host me again. I don't know why it dropped, but I think so. This is interesting, right? Because negligence is the lowest degree of culpability on the spectrum. I'm going to try to take the co-host mic right now. It's the lowest degree of culpability, right? You have purposefulness, willfulness, recklessness, and then negligence, right? So negligence means that you acted in a manner that a reasonable person would have known could potentially cause a death or a homicide in this case. Recklessness is above that, meaning that you acted in a reckless fashion with a disregard for human life. And then obviously purposeful and willful means that you intended for the result to happen, in this case, the murder. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. The facts of this case, the Allison case, are not fungible with the Anthony case. I was in a space earlier, and the facts were relayed to me, and we could go over this as well, that Allison was invited by the victim, I think his last name was Ramirez, to fight 2 separate times that day. And then finally, they went into the bathroom with, I think, 3 or 4 other of the victim's friends, and then a fight eventually ensued in the bathroom. And the state of mind of Allison, I think, was important for the jury to consider because there were other assailants that were there at the same time. And he was punched once and then returned the aggression with the knife. So, I mean, we can go over those facts and parse those based upon also what the witnesses said, and then see if we could apply in a somewhat similar fashion to the Karmelo case. But again, we are at a standstill because we haven't seen any more facts than what has been released from the police report and other ancillary facts from interviews that were hearsay. So I think it's going to be difficult to kind of prognosticate what's going to happen in that case. Let's go to Ricky.
What's up, Peter? What's up, Dana? Peace to the room.
Chill, man. Peace to you.
Beautiful day out here. So,
one second. I'm so sorry, guys. On YouTube, I'm so sorry. I had the volume down. I'm like, why I don't hear anything? I had the volume on low. Hi, Ida and Dre. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Who was it? Ricky, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. So I was saying regarding this case right here, as you can see in that state, you can act in self-defense. I've read one article about the case. I will have to, read more, brush up more on the case. But you do have a right to defend yourself and to look at the difference. A bunch of people picked that Carmelo Anthony case that Thursday night, whenever this went down, and they racialized it. But when people, this is America, it's a violent country. People meet up in high school, wherever you're at, and people get killed sometime, and it's bad. You discourage it. But as we can see from this negligent homicide, which I would think that the Carmelo Anthony case will probably end up being, will be some type of manslaughter or lesser charge if they go through with the case and everything. So I think we can look at that and look at other cases, but the Carmelo Anthony case was way overblown, and all these people got involved and they made a thing out of it. And to start out, we had all of those lies, all of the stuff we initially heard that he took his phone and they had another fight and all this. And when it comes down to the come down, I'm really looking forward to seeing that tape. We did hear there's a tape. I think that the tape is probably going to look good for the defense. And thank you for the mic.
Yeah, Ricky, you make a great point in regards to that. We are all excited to see any cell phone video that was there and taken directly so we could put eyes on the actual scene. And then the criminally negligent homicide conviction is a home run. I mean, you look at the sentencing exposure, it's 6 months to 2 years. That's the max he could get is 2 years and a $10,000 fine. So, I mean, if Carmelo was to get that, I mean, it's better than even taking a plea deal. No plea deal is going to be right now saying do 2 years and you get out. It would be probably 10, I would imagine. So if he has a similar result to that, I mean, I would damn near have victory parades and parties in the street at this point if for any Carmelo supporter, because 2 years you could do standing on your head.
Well, you could also get your butt busted in 2 years too. However, I have a question because I thought I read somewhere that Caysen Allison can get probation. That was on the table. The minimum probation to the max
He,
2 years. I don't know.
I would think so, right? Because that, I mean, there is a presumption of incarceration with the sentence, 6 years to 6 months to 2 years. But what happens with the courts? There's always a safety valve mechanism where they could sentence you as a lesser offender. There's a number of things that they could do to reduce the exposure. And he could potentially be getting probation for 5 to 10 years. So I have to dig more into the minutia of it, but I would suspect you're correct, right? That's not a long sentence at all. And that's why I think he also was able to get the bond. So he's home on bond pending his sentencing, which I believe is the first or second week of June.
Right. And also, if he would have never had made bond and sat in prison, he would have had, it would have been time served. And he would have to, definitely he don't got to worry about being sentenced. And he did, this is asterisk. He wants the judge to sentence him and not the jury. I wonder why. And I don't know if is that a good move or a bad move. And that's definitely a question I'm gonna ask the judge when I speak to him again tomorrow. But you guys can share your thoughts on that. Maybe you have more insight. I don't know who was next, Linda or Joseph.
Yeah, before we go to the next speaker, that is strange, Dana, because most cases that I've ever seen, the judge is the one who does the sentencing, other than a death penalty eligible case, right? Because then they bifurcate it. Bifurcating mean they put it into two parts: the jury decision on whether there's guilt or innocence, or not guilt, rather, I should say, and then the second part, which is the penalty phase, which the jury then gets to decide whether the death penalty is going to be administered, not the judge. So I've never seen a case where it's not death penalty eligible, where the jury is going to decide the sentence. And usually in court they don't want that to happen. They want the jury to be the finder of fact, and they want the judge to be the one that decides the punishment.
All right. So who was it? I think wasn't it Joseph or was it Linda? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we could go to Joseph and
Okay.
then Linda. Joseph, you're up. Joseph, you're up. You got to unmute your mic.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening and going through the feed. I think that would Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? When I seen this title, it was very interesting. I think ultimately, um, you know, as far as we can see, he still hasn't been indicted. I think that I haven't heard that he's been indicted. I haven't heard of an arraignment date set for arraignment. I think they're still collecting, or analyzing the information. I guess perhaps to maybe reapply the appropriate charges, or to charge, what they deem is substantial, or they can actually prove beyond reasonable doubt. And I mean, if we're talking about like the murder and everything like that, I don't think that they have substantial information to actually, or as far as what we know so far, I don't think that they have anything to actually substantiate that anything was premeditated, or that this person actually acted with intent to kill. Um, However, with other charges that can still arise and everything, that's not off the table. So could he have the same fate as Caysen Allison? A reduced, I mean, because it sounded like he got a reduced charge. You know, the person that in that case. Um,
Yeah, Joseph, the jury decided on a lesser included, right? That's what
right,
typically that's called, is there's lesser included offenses, which give the jury an out, essentially, to go to at least feel like they could split the baby with the bathwater, right? And at least have some type of a conviction, even if they're not going to go first degree.
right, and I know people are not gonna like this, man, but this is completely like through my rationale. If I look at this case, as people love to say, without applying race and the fact that it is a possibility that you know we as there's those of us that actually looks at these things and we're like, well, let's look at the things that happened in the past, and we've always we'll see that there is some remnants of discrimination, or some level of inequality, or unfair appliance of law and stuff. Like they throw the book at one group or one person, and then what I'm saying, completely not charged, or not actually even what I'm saying, prosecute another person who committed the same crime. But in this case, if we eliminate all of that and we just look at what we have, I think that he might not receive anything. I think that this could very well be completely thrown out. Um, I mean, that's just my thoughts on that, man. People are not going to like that, but
So you think he's not going to even get indicted? You're saying that the grand jury's not going to return an indictment, even?
I think it's a very strong possibility. Very strong possibility. From what I've gathered, outside, not just with the police reports, but like there are some recordings. I guess one of the police officers had his camera on, and they, from what I was told from someone in Texas, is that they're analyzing the feeds, and the feed, because I think the other two police officers didn't have their cameras on, their body cams on, and they're saying that there were some statements made that is in his favor. So I don't know if that's just hearsay, but even without that, I think that that I don't think they're going to charge him. I think it's a very strong possibility they're not going to charge him. I mean, indict him.
So you're of the mind, just briefly, you're of the mind that the escalation to use of force to the use of deadly force with the blade was proportional to the force that was used against him, based upon your cursory hearing of the case, correct?
Well, I think, have you ever been in a fight before?
Many.
Okay, me as well. So the reason why I asked is because um, at what do you in every fight that you almost got into, no matter how confident you were, wasn't there a moment that you you knew that it was like life or death, like you felt like it's a life or death situation?
If somebody's getting in the better of me, I would attempt to try to.
Yeah, not in the actual fight, but when you're about to, like that fresh moment where, what I'm saying, like you're,
Fear, yeah, of course. Everybody feels the fear when it's about to pop off, right? You get that feeling in
so
your
yeah,
stomach and you're ready to go.
yeah,
So
so
you
that,
think that feeling was enough to escalate to deadly force, and you think a jury, and specifically a grand jury who doesn't hear the exculpatory evidence, they only hear what the prosecutor wants them to hear, is going to return a no bill, basically no indictment. That's your assertion.
well, I think that considering that it wasn't a blade, that it was actually supposed to be a spike, actual spike sharpener, um, which I'm very familiar because I ran track for over 18 years of my life, and it is a very sharp and utensil. Um, that it wasn't something that he intended. What I'm saying, the intentions, was it proportionate? Well, I think striking him was the proportionate portion of it. Was him dying the expected reaction of him defending himself? The person, we, that's something that has to also be looked at. Like, you know, um, it's not like
Joseph,
like
really quickly, if you punch somebody in the chest, would you expect them to die versus if you struck them with a sharp
absolutely,
instrument through the
absolutely. If
chest?
I punch somebody in the chest, if I engage in any form of physical combat, because of how I am trained and how I've boxed a good portion of my life, and I've many fights, and I've seen people die in physical combat, hand to hand combat specifically. Yes, if someone knows, I've seen it. I've seen a kid die from getting hit in the chest with a lacrosse ball. So for us to think that, when you get in a fight, that there's some level of limitation of a threat, right, is completely asinine, because I know that when I go into a fight, and I know other people when they go into a fight, that they're going to fight like their life depended on it, because you don't know what can happen to you if you get hit
So replace the spike with a firearm. Is that proportional?
a spike with a farmer. That's a whole other conversation. That's another conversation. But
Okay, why?
well, because because then if I say yes, it is proportionate, then you'll say, well, firearms are not allowed on canvas, and you'll add other, goalposts.
No. I'm not even going to say that. My argument. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just saying you think that a grand jury
I
convened
think
in
that when it comes
Texas
down to,
is going to say is going to adopt your interpretation that proportionality is the same as a fist to a spike or a firearm.
absolutely, there's cases that actually validate that. At any point in time, when you look at when you look at what's considered proportionate, right? They look at the size of a person. They look at the amount of people that were involved, and that could definitely be deemed something that's proportionate, because first of all, when it comes down to the question about the firearm, right? If I'm somebody that does not want to fight, I do not want to engage in the combat with you, and you are, becoming, you're showing to be a threat, right? You're showing to be a threat, and I may not know how to fight. I may not, what I'm saying, be in a mental or health or health, physical health condition to fight, right? I might have a problem, it could be anything, but ultimately, I don't want to engage with you, and you're still threatening me. Any reaction that I have, regardless of the outcome, would be proportionate. Any reaction I have. So if I pull out a gun and blow you and shoot you, what I'm saying, it's defense. Did I shoot you to intent to kill you, or did I shoot you intent to defend myself?
But you said that you don't think he's going to be indicted. He's going to be indicted.
Well, I mean, that's my thought.
Well,
You
no,
know,
I say yeah, that's it's your opinion, but
I didn't say certainly he wasn't. I said that I think that it's a great chance that he won't,
yeah, no, I
and
see
I
what you're
stand by
saying, but
that.
I think he
Yeah.
definitely will because somebody died. So
I
by
mean,
your
somebody
hands,
died.
by
You know,
your actions. So it
who do we blame? Who do we blame? Oh, sorry. You know what, Dana? Was you done talking? I'm so sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Ooh, I don't want that side. um, no, think about it, right? Who do we blame? Like so now we're talking about emotions. Somebody died. Oh my, yes, it's definitely deserved. But like when we look at the rationale of it, right? Every cause has an effect, right? What caused this outcome? We can't like start at the point where he ended up dying because he got stabbed in the wrong place, and then like try to go into all the details. Oh well, did he intend to hit it right in his chest? Did he or was he just panicking or this other stuff? No, it comes down to the beginning, the aggressor, the start.
I hear you, Joseph, but just like
Hmm.
Daniel Penny was indicted, he had to go to trial, and that was self defense and he was being erratic, nearly was being erratic on a subway, and other people said that they felt like they were in danger, but Daniel Penny was still indicted. Now he ended up.
Dana, I'm glad you brought that up because Joseph. So you would say that Daniel Penny was justified, right? And it was proportional because of the state of mind he was in, right? As well, correct?
Nope, because the reason why you can't compare it, I would rather you talk about a case like perhaps the Kyle Rittenhouse, not necessarily the Daniel Penny case because that's a bad correlation. It's not the same situation.
Well, take me through the calculus of the Penny case.
Well,
I'd love to hear your analysis. You
Well,
Penny
sound like
case.
yeah,
a
can you
legal
do a
observer.
quick
Well,
process
I'm
because I want
definitely
to
a
get
legal
to
observer.
Linda.
Yeah, I'm much of I really, I just read a lot, and I've also represented myself in cases, but I'm by no means a fucking staunch professional or anything like that. But I'll say that I am from New York for a long period of time. I now reside in Georgia. Now, being in New York, I'm accustomed to seeing every single thing you can possibly imagine happen in the subway, from the worst to the funniest to the weirdest and to the nastiest. Whatever you think that whatever comes to mind in those particular areas to the most extreme cases, I've seen it in the New York subway. So when there's this guy, which I've seen that type of behavior done before, before from other people, exist from other people, is in an open cart. He doesn't touch nobody. He doesn't actually threaten anybody. He doesn't what I'm saying, make any acts or show any signs that he's other than him being loud and obnoxious, right? Is placed in a chokehold, right, and restrained in this chokehold for an X period of time until he fucking dies from no oxygen. Well, that's not the same thing.
Well, Joseph, your fact pattern is erroneous and false. He was threatening people on the train. We have witness testimony that says to that effect that he was, and you don't have to wait till an assault is completed into a battery to actually defend yourself. And that's what the jury
Yeah,
saw, and that's
yeah,
why the jury
but
returned a
again,
verdict of not guilty.
again, it's not erroneous because the bottom line is, was anybody touched?
It doesn't matter.
No, no.
He was
Well,
threatening
then
people.
it's not the same.
They feared for
Well,
their
then,
lives.
see, there we go, right there. Your argument is erroneous because you just tried to correlate a case where a person did not touch somebody to another case where a person was touched.
I guess my argument was so erroneous that the jury didn't believe him, and he found him guilty, right? Jordan Neely, or I'm sorry, Daniel Penny was found guilty, wasn't he?
It is what it is, man. I'm just trying to figure out why would you use that case particular. I know that you have
What does that mean? It is what it is. You speak to what I just said.
no,
I just said that the jury.
I just,
I was being facetious. The jury did not find him guilty. They found him not guilty because they realized that he was a terror on that train
yeah,
car. He had 42 prior arrests, 4 of those for violent assaults. And like Judge Joe Brown said in a show a couple weeks ago, the jury probably got back there and said, "Good riddance to this guy." And that's exactly what happened.
and that's possible, and that's the portion of law that a lot of people are concerned with. When people actually determine whose life is not valuable and who is, and their judgment is impacted by that very statement you just made, and because they, who are they to say one life is worth more or less than another, and then because
Joseph, you know who failed him? The city of New York and the leftist bomb throwers that run the
oh,
city.
fuck the
The
left,
Red
man.
Guard, the
I don't give a
communist
damn.
Marxist Red Guard
Daniel
that runs
Penny
the
fell.
city failed
That's
Jordan
who
Neely.
failed.
I don't give a damn about the left, man. Fuck the left. You know what I'm saying? I wish.
Yeah,
The
let's
left is what
lay
created
off
the
the F,
situation
lay
that
off
But
allowed
the
him to
F,
but
terrorize
Timothy.
people in
Lay
the
off the
subway.
F
but
words. 1 second, please do not say the
yeah.
F word, because I'm on YouTube and it's just too early. So I want to go
Mm.
to, just stay right there for a second, Joseph. I'm gonna go to Linda, then Jamal, then B Boy.
Hi, thank you so much, Dana and Peter. I appreciate the opportunity to answer or ask questions. I in reading the Caysen Allison case, will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate? I think that, as Peter had indicated, it would be a gift to Carmelo Anthony if he received the same or lesser um, a conviction as Caysen Allison. Um, there is there's homicide, and then there's manslaughter, and then there's lesser offenses. The 6 months, the 2 years um, is definitely um, something that for the 6 months he might serve some time. He might do no time or 2 years probation. But I think that that would be a gift when somebody dies. Under these circumstances, um, it is my belief from hearing from the previous Judge Joe Brown that somebody will be convicted. They're not going to let this young man, Carmelo Anthony, off with self-defense, primarily because we were talking and based on some good information from this, from Dana's show and with Judge Joe Brown. In the midst of riots, self-defense is automatic. In the midst of someone terrorizing on a subway, self-defense is somewhat automatic, according to what Judge Joe Brown said. But if it's just between um, some young people and you've got videos running, you've got um, some tensions or fights, and it's not in between a riot or any type of social public disorder, um, then self-defense is not typically, and I say typically, from what I understood, is not typically afforded. If there were a group of these athletes fighting and someone died, then self-defense during the, it was my understanding, if it's not clear, if I'm not in the right vein, please correct me. But from what I heard from Judge Joe Brown, if there was like a slew of athletes fighting and one died, um, then self-defense during a time of unrest is afforded, similar to what Kyle Rittenhouse was given during the time of, riots. Self-defense is afforded to everyone. Unfortunately, people died and got killed during that time. But that is what the judge said, that I believe that I heard. And I do believe that because someone died at the hands of Carmelo Anthony, I believe that it would be a gift if he got something that was minor. I don't, they can't prove premeditated murder. That one, I know they're reaching for that. They can't prove that, I don't believe. He'd have to have some text messages saying, I'm going to kill this guy. They have to have some other evidence. I don't believe that he set out to do that. And I don't know the facts of the case. I'm just going by what has been published. But I think that it would be a gift for Carmelo Anthony, that young man, to get the same fate as Caysen Allison. Um, and that's my thought. Or just let me know if I misinterpreted what
Yeah,
Judge Joe
Linda.
Brown said.
No, you're spot on with what he said. In a riot event or a breakdown of civil order, that the strictness, I guess, of being able to assert a self-defense claim is loosened. I want to, I guess, present the theory of how a first-degree crime could be charged here, with the words. Allegedly, in the police report, there was words saying that touch me and see what happens, and then punch me and see what happens. If you read the police report, it actually specifically says that exact verbiage. And so you would then, as a prosecutor, you would say that there was a cooling off period between when he said, touch me and see what happens, and he was touched, according to the witness statements. And then after the cooling off period, he says, okay, punch me and see what happens. And in this time frame, he's, according to the witnesses in the police report, reaching into his bag.
Yeah.
And so that is that cooling off period, which you could look it up. It's actually in criminal law, where you have the ability to say, okay, I'm going to stop the behavior, or I'm going to proceed in the behavior. Would be instrumental in a jury deciding whether the first degree charge is going to be one that they're going to find guilty
Yeah,
on.
but
So that's the theory of the crime from the
yeah, Judge
prosecution.
Joe Brown, and if you could weigh in on this too, Judge Joe Brown said that those words, um, the fact that you cannot um, solicit, um, you cannot solicit or incite somebody to harm you, or to threaten you and claim
Yeah, it's called
self-defense.
prompting and goading.
Right.
Prompting and goading. If you're prompting or goading the individual as a pretext so that you could use deadly force, you then lose the ability to
That's
assert a affirmative defense
Yes.
of
And
self-defense.
like I said, I don't know that he will be able, based on what I heard from Judge Joe Brown. And it was some good information. So um, this um, information session here, what Dana has put together, is very helpful. But yes, based on that, I don't know that he will be able to get off on self-defense. That's why I think that if he pled to something or is offered something like Caysen Allison, I think he would benefit from jumping on it. And thank you for allowing me to speak, Dana and Peter.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate
All
your
right, so
input.
we have Jamal, B Boy, Sway Me, Immortal, and the Negro. I'll swing back to you, Joseph. Go ahead, Jamal.
Hey, thank you, Dana. I just say this. Um, at worst, he'll get Casey Allen. They're going to look at this evidence and they're going to realize they don't have much there. They ain't releasing the videos for a reason. It's self-defense all the way. He was provoked. You could warn somebody not to touch you. Okay, he shouldn't have touched him. He shouldn't have put his hands on him. He invaded his space, the same as Daniel Penny invaded the guy from New York space. Okay. Um, Peter brought up Daniel, the left failing the guy in New York. No, Daniel Penny failed him. If Daniel Penny felt like he could be a hero and choose to take his life, he should have felt like being a hero and maybe trying to talk him down. I don't recall that ever being brought up. Maybe talk the guy down. Maybe stand in front of him if he's threatening other people. And the same thing for Mr. Austin. How about don't go provoking people? How about stay out of people's space and leave people alone who's minding their business? Thank you, Dana.
Let me also add this because again, even when Judge speaks, he was speaking to different scenarios. It wasn't straight through because he's not on the case, but you're just speaking to different scenarios, especially when no one they have not made any type of evidence public. But the point, just because he said, what did he say, touch my bag and you'll find out something, I don't.
No, it's two phrases from the police report. Touch me and see what happens, and then the witness reports that Austin went up to him and touched him. And then after he touched him, now how I imagine this, and this is just my interpretation, imagine somebody challenged you to touch them, and you come up with one index finger extended and touch the person's shoulder. Now, as a show of more ego and bravado, you say, okay, punch me and see what happens. And then allegedly, according to the police report, a grab is ensued and initiated by Austin, and then that's when he reaches in and gets the knife and
Well, I
strikes him
don't
in the
think
chest
either
with the
way.
knife.
I don't think it was well, you could probably pronounce that word coaxing, coaxing, huh,
Coaxing, yeah.
Coaching or coercing.
coercing, coaxing, whatever the hell. I don't think he was trying to agitate Austin to attack him, because that's just like if I'm walking down a street at night and then I notice someone is like following me and getting up close as if they're about to attack me. Um, and you turn around and say, listen, you better back up or you're going to find out. That is that me agitating the possible predator? So, but even if that, even so, if even with me saying that, and say if he did attack me and then I had a gun or a knife, stabbed him or shot him, I would definitely use self-defense no matter what I said, because it looked like I was in some type of danger. Quick story. I was a kid, and I was walking down the street with my mom, and I think it was Mystery Night or Holiday. No, probably Mystery Night. And Mystery Night, you have teenagers or adults. They try to do mischievous things, throw eggs, whatever. But we were walking home, and it was like three teenagers. They had to be teenagers, two boys and one girl, and they were kind of like surrounding us. And then my mother, she stopped. She was like, if you try to do something, she said something to the fact, I think y'all need to just better walk the fuck on, or I'm gonna hurt you, or whatever, whatever. So if they would have did something, and then my mother would have defended herself, and say one of them ended up dying from that, um, then is that self-defense? It's still self-defense, because it was a person who was a potential threat and ended up being a damn threat, and you were trying to warn them to back off. And I've seen in certain sense stand your ground. That's part of self-defense, when you give a warning to somebody, but then if they proceed, then you are entitled to defend yourself. I'm just throwing that out there. So again, we don't know all the evidence, but I don't think it was just because he said that he could have been, trying to agitate or coax or whatever Austin to actually do something just so he could stab him or whatever. But I think he is going to be indicted. But anyway, let me go to B Boy, then sway me and go.
Dana, real quick, 10-second response. I think the context matters. A dark alley or by yourself with your child when there's nobody else around, definitely you're going to have a more compelling case to assert before the jury. A track meet at 10 o'clock in the morning where there's numerous other students around as well as
Well, yeah,
adults
I'm
with,
honest.
or
All that,
right?
yeah, all of that plays, and this is what the jury is
That's
going to
perspective,
hear.
man.
This is 1 second, Joseph. This is what the jury is going to hear. They're going to hear all that, but so which means you can't go to one extreme and or go to the other extreme. So I'm just throwing multiple scenarios, so we all can't just say, oh, he was coaxing him or agitating him. Well, what if it was this situation? So it's multiple examples we could all throw on the table here. But all right, let me go to B Boy, because I do want to get to the speakers. Is he still up here, B Boy? Yeah.
Yep, he's here. B-boy, your
Hey,
mic is
oh,
on
I'm
you.
sorry. Okay, peace, Dana. Peace to everybody in the room. Okay, so can you hear me? Okay, Dana.
We could hear you.
Okay, so will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? Uh, will he? Possibly. Should he? Absolutely not. I'm in agreement with the last two callers. I think it was Jamal and Joseph. Um, a few things. A few. There's a few signs to why I think that the case could get dismissed, or he could get no time at all, or he may not be indicted, because there's a saying called jury can indict a ham sandwich. It's very easy, especially for a common person, especially for a low profile case, for a jury to indict. And what happens when a jury indicts? They usually like to do it when you're under duress of arrest. You haven't got legal counsel yet, and they can indict you, and they can argue facts without you having a legal representation there, and they argue those facts. They argue they make their argument as if it was facts. But if you have an attorney, your attorney can come to the grand jury indictment and argue
That's
on your
not
behalf.
true. That's not true. The defense can't have their counsel there. It's one-sided. That's why they say you can indict a
No,
ham sandwich.
okay. Well, I've been indicted, and I sort of know this from experience. Number one, number two, Peter. we can all hear the bias in your voice, and also you keep bringing up this police
Of
report.
course, it's super
Wait, hold on.
biased. I'm
Well, you
super
then you
biased.
said you don't have a dog in the race. You obviously do. But let me just say this: you keep bringing up the police report as if the police do not lie by omission in a police report. That's number one. And the other thing is, I want to point out something as well. This case has, I think, this case is more related to not Daniel Penny, not Kyle Rittenhouse, to George Zimmerman, because you keep trying to bring up this point of the proportionate. Is it the your response proportionate? Do we are we having amnesia? Do we all not remember what George Zimmerman's reason for taking out his gun and shooting Trayvon Martin was? That he was pursuing him after the 911 operator told him not to. He was pursuing him, and when Trayvon turned around and said, "What are you doing?" They got into a physical altercation, and Trayvon was getting the better of him. So stop with that. Stop with this proportion stuff, okay? You clearly have a bias, and yes, I think what's also telling, Dana, is that is the body language of the Met or the prosecutor's body language after Carmelo received bond. He said something that was very telling to me. He said, "What he said? Now we're going to pursue this." He said, "We have to be the level heads, and we're going to pursue this because we're in seek of the truth wherever it leads us." His body language wasn't too confident, and so yes, I'm in agreement with Joseph that I think there's a chance he may not get indicted, but I do think that there's evidence that the prosecution knows, videotapes or otherwise, because he should have been indicted. And the fact that he hasn't been, I think is very telling. So thank you for letting me speak, Dana. Peace.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But I have a question for
Mhm.
B-Boy. When you were indicted, you said you were able to have your defense attorney go and present exculpatory evidence to the grand jury?
No, I couldn't. Well, I wasn't able to afford the attorney to come and show up on my behalf. And yes, you can. If you have an attorney, your attorney can't argue in the indictment so that it never goes through. They can argue the facts that are being stated, but the way the state likes to do it is they like to indict you within 48 hours of you being arrested before you can get legal counsel, so they cannot argue on your behalf.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is a
I've
fact.
never heard that,
Okay,
but
well,
Mason,
that's how.
maybe
That's,
you know.
I'm in Chicago, Illinois. That's how it works. If
Okay,
100%, if you have legal counsel, they can show up to the indictment and argue on your behalf. Now, if the prosecution knows that you don't have legal counsel, they're there. The prosecutor is there with the grand jury, and they can state whatever they want to state as if it were facts. They don't have to say allegedly. They state it as if it was facts. So that's how it works in Illinois. So there you go. So
right.
thank you, Peter. Thank you,
Okay.
Dana.
Thank you so much. I'm going to look that up. I didn't know. I learned something new today. I didn't know that you could have a defense attorney come in on your behalf and then present exculpatory evidence to the grand jury. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Okay, thanks.
Sweeney.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, are we looking at the Texas stand your ground law and deadly force can be used in standing your ground? Because I don't hear that. I was wondering, is that a part of the assessment? Because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so then why would it matter if he says, um, you know, to me, he's warning the individual, leave me alone, get out of my personal space. Why would that be coaxing or telling someone, prompting someone? Because then if
Yeah, I'd
it's,
like to,
yeah, if it's stand your ground and you're saying, hey, leave me alone, get out of my personal space, you have a right to react. And I will add I saw a video of a older gentleman, and this guy, I guess he was drunk out of his mind or whatever, and he kept prompting him, saying, let's fight, let's fight, let's fight, and the older gentleman was like, man, leave me alone, leave me alone. And the guy kept coming up to him and saying, fight me, and got up on him, and the older man pulled out his gun and shot him. So, and that was self-defense, and he was found not guilty. So
yeah,
I'm trying to figure
I'd like
out,
to,
when can you, if you can't protect yourself, when can you protect yourself? I land.
yeah, I'd like to answer that. I urge you to continue reading the statute on stand your ground, which is a subsection of self-defense in Texas and under Texas law. And I'd like you to pick out 3 key words, and I'd like you to write them down in a notebook. First one is proportionality. The second one is reasonableness, and a third word is necessary. is the force used necessary to defend your life? And would a jury of your peers, of reasonably minded individuals, say that it was necessary for you to escalate to deadly force? And was it proportional to the force used against you? That's explicitly written in the statute. So that's the second part of the stand your ground statute that you're asking a question about. Okay.
So
Who is that?
then even with those twins, they were the proportionality of them going up against him is still off, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we know for a fact that it was 2 against 1, right? We know that for a fact. They released that information. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's that basically, and even just the one that the brother that was unfortunately stabbed, he was still bigger than Carmelo, right?
Yeah. Can you put that in the nest that the official documents or some official reports said that it was 2-on-1? Can not hearsay evidence. Just can you put some evidence that was up in the jumbotron that
Well,
it
the
was
evidence
2-on-1?
to me
Definitely.
is that you can look and see on the athletic page the size of the twins compared to Carmelo, right? I mean,
Right.
they're
But how does
both
that address the
they were all
2-on-1 component?
athletes, so you can go. But I'll put
Yeah.
them
But
in there. I'll put them in the purple
But
pill.
how does that address the 2-on-1 component, not the size, the 2-on-1? How do we where are we getting that information?
Well, I know I'm looking at you all are saying proportionality, right? So when I look at the proportionality, I look at a 6'2" young man compared to a 5'6" or 5'7" and 150-pound young man, and a 6'2" young man with 200 some pounds. That
Right.
proportionality doesn't add up to me. That is already proportional. And then when you got the double
Was
the size, because you got twins, it's double. So that's where I am going with the proportionality. That's how I look at it.
Right, but the proportionality meaning a 2-on-1 scenario could invite and allow for deadly force to be used, but where is the evidence that it was in fact 2 people against 1 person?
I'm just
We don't have that
I
evidence.
get you. I get you. I'm just looking at the one that
Yeah.
was stabbed. I still look at the proportionality as off, but I'll land.
Was Carmelo a football player? I think he played the noble game of football, right?
No, he ran track.
Oh, he did. I thought he was a captain of a football team. I guess I was wrong about this. So he never played any football, right? Where he would go against potentially much bigger opponents when he was playing football.
Football's not a fight.
Well, that's what I'm just a little. I'm kind of. I was slow when I was growing up, and I had to take medication to get smarter. So I'm just trying to figure it out. If he's that size, but he's running up against say linebackers that are 220, 230, is that proportional?
There are rules in football, not in a fight. There are
I got you. So him getting knocked around, he couldn't like say get concussed and possibly have a brain injury by facing a larger opponent like that, right?
He's been trained to deal with that. There's unnecessary roughness. You can't cross the line until somebody snaps the ball. Unnecessary roughing the quarterback, face masking. It's all kind of rules and things in place for somebody to lessen the chance of getting hurt while you're playing in football. There's none of that present when somebody attacks you. So it's no
Right. So that eliminates the risk, right? That completely eliminates the risk.
equivalent. It's not equivalent at all. It doesn't even make
I got you.
that analogy.
That makes sense.
Immortal, it's your turn anyway. And then Negro, then I'm gonna go back to Joseph and then Chan.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So greetings. Will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Caysen Allison? It should. It should. His case fits that outcome more than the Caysen Allison case does. Somebody was asking for evidence that it was 2-on-1. Well, the surviving twin who is responsible for the loss of his life. Everybody keeps saying a life was lost, so you feel like somebody's got to pay. Yeah, the person who was in commission, who was assisting in commission, committing a crime, that's who got to pay. And that's been proven when he got out in public and started going around with his daddy and making statements on camera saying that it was him and his brother that accosted Carmelo Anthony. Situational ethics is a thing. People always keep hearing, I can't imagine that it would be this way. I can't imagine. No, you wouldn't be able to imagine. You wouldn't. Many of you can't imagine that
some the good, clean, wholesome uh, 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 guy ran up on this thug. He has to be that thug is his part. Y'all, I hear it. I can hear it. Like the accountability doesn't even enter your mind as somebody run up on you and start putting their hands on you. Like, for example, it say in the police report, oh, he touched him. Touch them means a lot of things. Touch them, the least it could mean is somebody walked up and poked you on your shoulder with their finger. That's the least it could mean. It could also mean somebody grabs you up by your collar. It could mean that too. Touching you could mean that they punched you. And then people, and they try to downplay and try to pretend like it must have been the least of all possibilities when you don't even know. And then there's the thing where, uh, oh well, was it necessary? You can't. Some of y'all, you people, you can't imagine that it would be necessary for young Carmelo Anthony to defend himself against that good, clean, wholesome young man, right? And it'd be necessary to take his life. That was you can't imagine that the necessity of that. Why? Well, there were teachers around there. When did the teacher intervene on Carmelo's behalf? They didn't. Nobody said anybody intervened on his behalf. Nobody tried to help him. Oh, it was students around. The students, it was spectators around. It was people who should have said something about the situation and didn't. So that they testimony is even comes up. If I was there, I would have stopped it. If I was sitting close enough, I would have. If I wasn't close enough to physically, I would have yelled and say, "Hey, you kids better cut it out over there." I'd have said something. But these are the people you rely on to say that Carmelo Anthony was safe and he didn't have to. No, that's not the way that works. Your situational ethics and your, oh my God, blatant narcissistic view of this thing is infuriating. It really is. It really is. 2 against 1. The twins said that he went against him. 2 against 1. That young man had every right to defend himself. Every right. Look at Caysen Allison. He had a knife inside school, inside the bathroom. Said, "Come on, let's fight." Went in there, stabbed him up. He get away. Why? Because it's a jury of his peers. The only way Carmelo Anthony doesn't walk from this, it's obvious why it is. It'll be plain and simple why it is. You got a preconceived notion of what Carmelo Anthony is, who he is, where he comes from. You got a whole preconceived notion about him, just like a mythical, preconceived notion about him. You want to say, oh well, he comes from a fatherless home. No, he doesn't. Oh well, he's a ghetto rat. No, he was. Nah, he's middle class. He must know how to fight because he can play football. That don't even make sense. If you'd have said he was in boxing, I might have gave you that. People think that these football guys, and that's another thing, y'all need to quit. These football guys, since the 90s, football guys ain't been tough. Okay? They don't fight. They can't fight. Since the 90s, football guys are not tough. Now, get back in the 80s, 70s. Before that, yeah, you might get a bruiser on your hands. But not these guys. These guys are concerned with how pretty they are. They concerned with keeping their sneakers clean. They're concerned with not getting hurt so they can play in the next game. They're concerned with things of that nature. They're not out here fighting unless they are entitled, unless they just some big bullies that nobody has put in check, like these twins. Now, last thing I'll say about the life. Everybody crying about a life was lost. And I agree. Somebody need to answer for this life. Somebody has to answer for this life. And it's his brother. His brother should have told him, nah, let's not go over there. Okay, you went over there, you made that mistake. You should have told you, hey, man, don't touch that dude. He didn't do that. Hey, man, don't grab his bag. Don't threaten him. Don't punch him. Don't do that, bro, because now we're committing crimes on public property in here. This is school, activity and things. He didn't say none of that. He was right there with him, right there, willing and able and ready to harm Carmelo Anthony right along with his brother until his brother got poked. And then he got scared, and then he bowed down and held his brother, realizing his mistake. Well, guess what? He need to pay for that. He need to pay for not intervening, leading his baby or his big brother into ruin. Led that young man into ruin. didn't tell them the right thing, engaged in it with them. That's what you tell us, you situational ethics people, with your arrogance and your narcissistic views. You tell us that all the time. You police, I run up on Peter. I'm gonna take everything off of Peter. Peter gonna, knock me down. He gonna pull his gun in Texas because that y'all can stab folks in the back of school and get off. And Peter knows this. So Peter he gonna reach. Give me everything you got, Peter. And Peter gonna blow me down. And then whoever's with me, whoever's in the car, whoever was in the car, I run back to the car and drive away. When they find out who my getaway car, they're gonna put the murder on them because you trying to help commit this crime. It's always like that with us. It should be like that in this case. If this is America, I know where it is, but if it was America, that's what will happen.
Or more, I appreciate your submission. You do realize Caysen Allison was asked to fight multiple times by the victim and declined, didn't want to fight. And then when they went into the bathroom, that was where the fight ensued.
Karmelo Anthony didn't want to fight. That's why he said, "Hey, leave me alone. Don't touch me. This is going to end bad for you if you touch me." He didn't want to fight. He didn't go over to them people. So you don't want you don't want to be held accountable. Accountability is like kryptonite to you people. You wither.
What do you mean, you people? What does that mean, you people?
You know what it means. You wither under accountability. Figure it out.
I don't know, but please tell the room who you people is.
To convict an innocent man, you smart enough to figure out who you people are. Don't play dumb with me.
Okay.
Don't play.
Well, listen, you sound reasonable, and I think you're right. I think. Would you be willing to take my action? I would bet $1,000 that he will be indicted and that he will be convicted.
Say that.
You want to take that bet?
And the prosecutor is waiting on people waiting on you people. The prosecutor is waiting on you people to kind of calm down and kind of let this go because they know the prosecutor knows you got situational ethics. The prosecutor knows you'll do harm. You'll go out here. It's already terroristic to Karmelo Anthony's family, the judges, and it's going to hit the prosecutor too. So he's going to bide his time. He got time. He has time to bring a case. So he bide his time. And he's going to wait for you people who are stoking the fires of domestic terrorism. He's going to wait till you calm down, and then he's going to let that young man go. And then hopefully they'll leave Texas with some of the money we didn't gave them. Just leave Texas.
Immortal, would you be willing to go on national TV and spout these views?
Because that family is not safe there anymore, and they're going to end up having to pop another one of you people.
I think America needs to hear your viewpoints about you people and about the things that you just said. I think I'd love to have you. Would you be willing to go on a national show and talk about these things?
Just talk just about you people. Talk about you people the way you are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want you to explain who you people is to America, to the national audience.
It's the innocent child. You can figure out who you people are. I'm not going to help you no more. And the other thing about they keep bringing up the Honorable Judge Joe Brown's name. The Honorable Judge Joe Brown have spoken on both sides of this issue. He's been given scenarios, and he said pathways to where the prosecution could end up with a conviction, and he's given pathways to where and confirmed pathways to me directly of where Karmelo Anthony could walk on a self-defense, and he's confirmed that it's possible that the other twin can go to jail for the loss of his brother's life. He's confirmed all that. So y'all ain't hiding behind Judge Joe Brown. He's not.
Said that. How can a brother go to jail?
It's a recorded space. It's a recorded space. You don't have to because
I'm the one who conducted spaces. I don't remember him saying the brother could go to jail. Did the brother? Now I have seen
I was in this space before the last
video out there where a woman who in the legal field was making a case that the brother could have charges if they wanted to go that route. But I don't remember hearing the judge. What did the judge exactly say? Do you remember?
He said, I don't know exactly, but he said word to the effect of it could go that way if that's the case. And that's the case.
All right, well,
that's what it is.
I'll actually explain what he said. I remember what he said, Dana.
Because he's not here to clarify, and I don't like doing that. I don't like to say, well, he said, she said this, and that person isn't there to clarify it. So let's just do an asterisk there.
The lady up here just talking every other word was Judge Joe Brown and what he said, and he ain't here. So
No,
all I'm
what she said,
all I'm
every
saying,
space that the judge does, I'm conducted. I was there. I don't want to come out and say that's not true. I never heard him say that. So I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just saying, listen, I've talked to the judge on YouTube, on X Space about Carmelo Anthony. Not once has he ever mentioned anything about the brother being charged with anything.
Dana, the theory is that he was committing an armed robbery. That's the theory that they're
Okay,
putting
so
out here. Is
so
that
in
an armed
theory,
robbery was
if
being
it comes out in theory that the brother was part of the robbery, okay, but Immortal, you left out a whole chunk of information as opposed to Linda is very detailed with
what a
her
surprise.
information. So
What a
you
surprise.
didn't
He left out
insert, okay,
information.
the brother would be charged with robbery if that is the case. And this whole conversation is in theory because the Carmelo Anthony case, no evidence has been put out yet. So I have to put that
explain
as
it.
well. As well.
I'll reiterate Carmelo and just same thing I told Judge, and Judge says that's possible. And
Immortal, is Carmelo Anthony a baby? Is he a baby?
what's possible is, I'm not answering silly questions from you people. What's possible is,
Well, you sound reasonable.
question, man. Come on. What's possible is that he could be charged for the loss of his brother's life because he was right there with him in commission of a crime. Very simple.
All right. So,
Again,
oh,
this is a reasonable person, and we're
all
happy
right,
they're
I'm gonna
here.
get to the Negro, then I'm gonna go back to Joseph, then Chan, and then anybody else that have their hands up, or anybody want to request to come up as well. So go ahead, the Negro.
Hey, good afternoon, Miss Dana. Hey, Peter, I guess.
Hello. Good afternoon to you. I hope you're
Yeah,
doing well.
yeah. It's a couple of things. There was a lot of exaggerations that are being told, and that needs to be addressed. One of them is this. I'm definitely want to read the title of the room first. Will Carmelo Anthony have the same fate as Casey Allison? I want to address that question. I think that the man is completely innocent. The young child is completely innocent because he's underneath the age of 18. So yeah, I think he's very innocent. And I think that we should presume that he's innocent until proven guilty.
Negro, can I stop
Wait.
you real
No,
quick?
man, no. I want to get my
Oh, I wanted
submission
to have a
off.
dialogue with you.
No,
I
Yeah,
love
you
when you
gotta
get
let
on
get
him
my
stage.
finish
talking
before you
points
had
off.
a dialogue. Let him finish his
Like,
statement.
geez, like I got like my talking points. You see the stuff in the purple pill that I was dropping. Like, allow a nigga to breathe, man. Like for real. First things first, man. This 3 day cool off period. I heard the term cool off period. In the state of Texas, right? I'm going to observe that there needs to be a 3 day to be considered a cool off period. Hey, argue with AI, argue with that all you want, but that's who you need to argue with on that. So to say that it's in a short span of time, I think that that's a appropriation or misuse and a misinterpretation of that law and or policy, right? The other thing that I wanted to highlight that I really was like looking at is that a cool off period is normally considered a form of retreat too. But this we're in a stand your ground state. So that don't matter. So anybody that's using that, I look at that as a straw man argument to um justify anti-black behavior, right? Anti-Negro behavior, where people could just run up and say and do whatever they want to a black young child. And I think that that's in some regards, I look at this as a form of inciting domestic terrorism behavior when people are going this route, abusing their law license. Those are the things that I'm starting to see when I hear people come with this type of rhetoric. And if they are going for a law license, they should stop because they're promoting misinformation that could have deadly consequences to a minor. So, like again, you hear somebody who's already presuming a child to be guilty and not giving him his day in court, and I find that that's very un-American. Very anti, because this was never done to Casey Allison. He got to see his day in court. They even didn't say anything about it, so he could presume his innocence, right? So, and this is in the same state of Texas. Stand your ground. So, Yeah, I'm sorry, Rhapsody. I know, baby. So when we say you people, we're talking about these situational ethics. These people who it could be white or black, who's out here shucking and jiving and want to see the death of a black child. How low can you go? Like, how low can you go?
I appreciate your submission. It was very poignant. I want to address the first point, and we can have a little dialogue here. So please feel free to answer back with me. The first point you raised was that he's a young child. What is a young child? I'm curious.
And for my standards, any child that's underneath the age of 18 years of age is a young child to me. I perceive them as a child because they do not have all the mental faculties in their mind to do certain type of reasonings and stuff of that nature. So until then, I'm going to view him as a child because I always presume the innocence of a minor. I'm not going to take it away from them.
Okay, so a young child, like an 8-year-old, can be considered the same as a young child that's a 17-year-old. Is that in your analysis? Is
In
that
my
right?
perspective, yeah. He's underneath the age of 18. What part you don't get a minor? Like, come on now, bro.
Okay, so would you say, like, if you get, I know they used to do these military overrides, right? If you're 17, you could have your parents sign to go into military. Do you think the military would accept a young child? Would they classify a 17-year-old as a young child, do you think?
Well, that's a what if, bro. And you can use that, but that's you're using a isolated incident with the military, right? And we're talking about citizens here. This is a citizen, U.S. citizen. This young man is not a part of the military branch. He does not like so those policies that you're pushing would not apply. So can you
Okay.
stop dealing with the what ifs and deal with the facts respectfully?
No, I understand. I just I wanted to clarify that because I think some people in the room maybe had a question. We all now know, according to you, a young child is anyone under 18, even if they're 6 months short of 18, they're considered a young child. And I've even heard in other rooms people say that baby. They're trying to kill that baby. They're trying to kill one of our babies. Would you say he's a baby too? Are you
Wait, wait,
co-signing that too?
wait. I don't like how you're trying to infantile this young black man, right? This young black child. Like
Wait, I thought he was a baby. I thought he was a child. You just said he's a young
okay,
black man.
when we
Which one
say
is it?
that, when we're saying that he's a baby, that is a cultural perspective of us being defensive of somebody that is younger, and we have that right to defend our children the way we feel fit. I don't need a white man to tell me how I should defend a black child. I find that is offensive. I
I
don't go
understand. So
around.
this is
I
because
don't
I'm
go
white,
around and
right?
tell you.
According to you.
Peter. I don't go around and tell you how to defend Casey Allison. I didn't. I never did. So you don't
I
get.
wasn't
So
defending
it
him.
doesn't.
If
So
you
you don't
actually,
have the right.
I wasn't defending Caysen Allison. I actually said that he was going to get convicted of the murder charge. So I was actually shocked from it. But I'll you can go ahead.
No, I'm just throwing it out there because it kind of comes across.
It's probably a double mute.
I don't hear nothing.
Okay.
I
No,
don't hear
because it
you,
was
the
heavy on the
Negro. We
mute.
don't.
Somebody just thumbing on the mute. But
It was a double mute. We you cut off where you said that you don't
like
co-sign
like
calling a child. Go ahead.
at the end of the day, is anybody who's under 18, I'm gonna view them as a child, as a baby, as an innocent child. Period. That's just my
Okay.
stance and how I view children. I work with children. I want to protect the children, and I have a right to do so as a black man. However, I see fit.
Okay.
So a school shooter should be considered like a baby or a child too, right? Like somebody
I'm
who
not
shoots up a
talking
school.
about a school shooter, young man, Peter.
Well, it goes by the age, right?
No,
You
no.
just
I'm
said it goes by the age.
specifically
I'm trying to apply your
no, no,
logic.
no. Well, don't worry about my logic because you're not black. You can't
Well,
think
that's what
as
I'm
a
saying.
black
I'm
man.
trying
So
to slip
so the
into the skin.
audacity for you to think
I'm
no,
trying to see it
you
the way you're seeing
don't
it. Can
worry
you
about
help
my
me?
what you need to worry about is that 3 days that you were pushing as a cool off period and dress that and how you're trying
Well, I'm
to
going to address
stretch
that next.
no how
Well,
you're going to address
I'm going to,
instead of no instead of talking about in the heat of the moment.
I'm going to address that right now. I wanted to figure out. I wanted
Now
that
you want to
point.
go on
So
a mute. Now you want to mute me.
No, I'm muting you because you have a problem allowing anybody to speak back to you. You go on for a long time, and so I wanted to get some more words in regarding to your second point, which was the cooling off period. Now, what you quoted, and I find is very interesting, and it was interesting that you were telling me I was full of it when you quoted a consumer protection law. And I'm going to read it. The cooling off rule and self-defense are separate legal concepts. The cooling off rule, primarily within consumer protection, allows buyers to cancel certain contracts within a specified period. Self-defense, on the other hand, is a legal justification for using force when facing an imminent threat of harm. These concepts are not related, and one is about contract cancellation, and the other is about the use of force in a legal context. I'm talking about
And there
cooling
was a
off
use of
in the.
force when it came to those twins.
I'm going to explain what I was
So, but
saying.
there's a use
Please
of
let me.
force when
Please.
it came to.
I'm speaking. I'm gonna say what, like, you wanted a chance to speak uninterrupted, and I did yield to you. Just let me get my point across, and then I'm gonna let you dialogue with me. It's gonna be great. When I was talking about cooling off, there's cooling off when it talks about when it talks about first degree murder. If they're elevating to first degree murder because they're saying that you had a chance to think about your actions, quote unquote, the cooling off period, which could literally be seconds. The cooling off could be seconds. Somebody threatened you, you said, "Hey, get away from me." They maybe stopped, or they even persisted, and then you came and actually finished committing the action that you were threatening. You had a period to cool off and think about whether you wanted to persist. And then you still persisted. That is where I think the prosecution, the theory of the crime is going, why they charged first degree, because of the specific statements made. Number one, touch me and see what happens. Number two, punch me and see what happens.
Okay, now I want
Now
to
you could go
address
ahead
that
now.
point. Okay, so I put up two different points there, Peter. I put up that for that one, and I also put up another one when it comes to the cooling off period or a duty of retreat. There's no duty of retreat when it in a stand your ground state, Peter. So either or you slice it, the young man should be free, and the young man or the young child, because I'd still view him as a child, even though some people might view him as a man. But the young child is innocent and should be presumed as innocent until his day of court.
Let me
I
ask you a
find it
question,
very.
Negro. Do you echo those same sentiments for Caysen Allison?
Casey Allison, great question. Casey Allison, how I look at that, it's not a self-defense situation. I think it's premeditated. And I made a comment in the post specifically about how I felt about it, and I'll read it out loud. Casey Allen or Allison or wherever his name is should go to jail, while Carmelo Anthony should have no jail time. So I was very direct about my positioning
But
on this matter.
why do you think Caysen should go to jail and not Carmelo Anthony?
Great. Great question. And this is where I'm starting to learn from my perspective how these police officers write these reports and they do certain things. They do it with the intentions of trying to conceal certain statistics and to not fully hold people accountable. And when they write reports that are very misleading, that can also jeopardize the court case as well, where they might not have the evidence to support those perspective or views, and it makes it hard for the district attorney to actually prosecute these things. So when I look at this whole situation with the Caysen Allison thing, this young man came with the intentions with the knife. He brought that into school onto school property, right? And he hurt that young man, that other man. But I'm not really trying to advocate per se for white on white crime. That's Latinos issues and white issues. My
Okay,
issue is
so
with
you're agree.
my
So
Yeah,
concern is with
but the
black
Negro,
folk.
they weren't men, they were babies, according to you, right? Because they're under 18. They were
They're not
babies.
my
These-
babies.
okay,
I'm concerned
so
about the ones that
basically
are
the
from my
Negro, you're
community,
coming
and I
at
have
it.
a right
So
to.
basically the Negro, you're coming at it. You're taking a side, and you're using race as an element of taking a side. Because for me,
No, I'm not race, ethnicity.
well,
Ethnicity.
same thing.
No, it's not.
What's the
No, it's
difference? What's
not.
the difference?
The difference of great question. Ethnicity is belongs to a specific group and a people that have shared customs, beliefs, and
And
etc.
what would be
Race can
Carmelo
be
Anthony's?
anybody. No. Race could be
What would be
anybody that
Carmelo
has the
Anthony's
skin.
ethnicity?
He is a Negro. He is
Is
a
which
black.
is what? Which is what? Which is a race?
It's ethnicity, ma'am.
which is a race.
Ethnicity.
Negro means
Negro,
what?
no, it's not.
Negro
Negro
means
has an
black. Negro
ancestry.
means African
No,
American. Negro
no, no,
means colored. Negro means nigger. Negro
no.
means someone who
Negro is a
was
Negro,
enslaved.
and
Yes, we had
ma'am,
so many labels. The Negro, you're wrong.
ma'am, and
So
I'm telling you that Negro is
so
a
the Negro.
lineage, and just
Hold on for a
because
second.
those
Hold on, because we're not going to keep talking over each other. So since you call yourself the Negro, I can say you're not a black man, but you are a Negro, correct?
you could use them interchangeably. Me, I have done it. I would
What do you
prefer
mean
to be called
interchange? So
Negro.
what is
Wait,
your race?
meaning
What is
that
your race?
due to the fact
What
I'm
I'm
not worried
asking you a
about the
straight
race,
question.
ma'am.
No,
I'm
because
worried about the
all right.
ethnicity.
So listen.
I'm
I don't think I'm cutting you off. I'm just moving it along quickly because I need to get to the other speakers. So just answer my question. What is your race?
I'm a 14 amender, ma'am. That means
So
I'm a
when you
Negro.
have a application in front of you, what box do you check?
I actually put black and then I
Okay,
specify
you
and I
put
put
black.
Negro,
So
ma'am.
then what
So no,
ethnicity?
ma'am. No,
What?
it's
Wait,
not
wait.
just
My
generalized.
question. My question is what? No,
Dana,
no,
I
no.
got him.
I get
I'll
what you're
keep
saying,
muting him
right?
when
I
he
get
comes
what you're
off.
saying. He put black and he specified Negro because you could be black and you could be an immigrant. However,
Yes. And
so
I'm
then
doing
what
that
is
to
so
specify.
but again, you're not so you're this is still a race issue that you're harping on. So my question to you is real
No,
quick, what is Caysen Allison's ethnicity and race?
ma'am, I don't really care
No,
what his
I
race and
want you
stuff
to
is because
tell
it's
me
not my
because you
community,
said
respectfully.
you
I
said
already told you that.
let me speak to Negro. You said that your judgment is you're siding with your own ethnicity, which is why you don't care about the Caysen Allison verdict. So I'm asking you, what is Caysen Allison's ethnicity and race?
From I just know his race is white. I don't know what that young man's ethnicity is because I never really
Right.
fully
And but we
entrenched
do
myself.
know,
And,
but
and
what we
but
do
I
know is
do.
Carmelo is black. So
Wait. Can we
so
slow
you're
down about the
siding,
victim, about the
you're
case?
siding,
No,
you
man.
are wait,
You're skipping.
one second, the Negro. So because you said that you are siding with your own ethnicity, but you're also including race. You because Carmelo is clearly black.
I never included
So then
race,
all
ma'am.
right, wait. Slow down.
I
So
called him a Negro, and I called.
I got it, Dana. Don't
no.
worry. I'll
One
keep muting
second.
him.
Because if you are focusing on ethnicity, then why not have a stand and a statement when it comes to Caysen Allison case? Because you should be champion or you should be supporting Ramirez, the victim who is
I'm not
non-white
with this
and
black and brown stuff. He's a
his
Latino, ma'am.
ethnicity.
He's
No.
he's
Okay,
an immigrant, ma'am.
so again. So then you're
You're trying to
so
black
then
and
you're
brown the
only
situation. I'm not
no.
talking.
So you are, and that's how you
No,
trip
I'm not.
yourself
You're
up.
pushing that, and
You
you're
trip
pushing that,
yourself
ma'am.
up. The point I'm trying to get to here is, Negro, you trip yourself up. You are bringing buyout when you focus on ethnicity, because if you saying that you're focused on ethnicity, your own, which is you mean black, your race. You can't really separate the two when you're talking about Carmelo Anthony. Because if you focus on ethnicity other than what Caysen is, he's white, that means you should have sympathy for the Ramirez victim that died. But then you say, oh no, not that ethnicity, just mine, which is what? Which is black, because Negro is black. It's black American. That's what it is. All right, listen, hold on for a second, the Negro. I need to swing back to Joseph, then Chan, then Deborah, then swing back to Immortal. So just sit tight.
No, you're wrong
Dana,
about
can I
that
can I
because there's a
respond real quick
The
president. No,
Negro,
before you
go
go
ahead
back?
and have the last word. You could go ahead and have the last word, and then I'm gonna go to back to Joseph, Chan, Deborah, and Immortal.
It's a double mute.
all right, I'll be really quick. LBJ, there's a precedent that was set by a president of the United States. I think it was LBJ, where they say a Negro is basically a Negro and a Black American is something other, which can mean any group of ethnicity. It's a reason why I specify that he's a Negro because there's certain historical precedents that's tied to that, ma'am. It's not me dancing the line and between race and ethnicity. No, I'm choosing ethnicity for this issue and to ride out on that issue and that horse. And I don't have to worry about no Latino because that's their issue, respectfully. If their own people is not advocating for him, why should I advocate for them? That will be my question to these naysayers.
But again, you you're Negro means a black person. So if you are only
No,
talking
a
about,
Negro is a Negro,
if you are
ma'am.
talking about Negro, then you are still possibly still including someone who is an immigrant and black, because
No, I'm not, ma'am.
Negro just means black
Negro is
person.
tied to the 14th Amendment, ma'am. No, I'm not. I'm
Negro,
being
Negro is
Pacific.
not even in the 14th Amendment. Actually, there's no race in the 14th Amendment. Race is not
And
even
also, the
race
Negro
is
was in the
race is not
Constitution
even race.
until they
Listen,
changed it.
listen. Race is not even named in the 14th Amendment. Negro, if you look it up, if you go through history, Negro means a black person. We're no longer Negroes because um um federally they stopped using that term on federal papers and even in a lot of states. However, when the time when they were using Negro, and if you were a black person that came here from the Caribbean or from Africa and you were here during that time in the 50s, 60s, and 30s and 40s, which they were still considered Negroes. Now they could probably, when they bust out an accent in front of a cop, then a cop may say, "Oh, you a different type of Negro." But they looked at him as a black person because that's what Negro is. So only thing I'm trying to bring to your awareness is when you run and saying Negroes, but you really mean only Black Americans, then you're going to need to be a little bit more specific and stop thinking that, oh, it's our own separate ethnicity. I don't call myself a Negro. So then I'm not going to
Well,
be
that's
part.
you, ma'am.
No, no,
That's
no. But
you.
am I a black American? Yes, I am. But not. I'm not. You will not call ever. If somebody call me a Negro, I don't care what background we fighting. I take offense to Negro. That was in my time. That was my grandparents' time. So you will not refer to me
And
as.
there was a
Thank,
You're
time
not
where
gonna. No,
black
no, no. You're
people, if
not
you
gonna
called a
refer to
Negro
me.
person
You're
black,
not gonna
they
refer
wouldn't
to
like that
me
either,
as.
man.
You're not gonna refer to me as Negro, as colored. I really don't like African American, but people use that because that's supposed to be polite, and I kind of let that slide. But I let people know I'm Black American. First of all, I'm American, but if you're
Dana,
gonna get specific, I'm Black American. Period.
Dana, how do you feel about the comment about the babies? Is a
No,
17-year
because
old a
he's
baby?
charged as an adult. That's not a baby. However, then if that's the case, saying that his mental is not formed because you don't really form your brain until you're 25. So someone who's 21 is considered a baby. Someone who's 20 is a baby. Someone who's 24 is a baby. 17, no, you know what the hell you were doing. You know the difference between right
18 and up,
and
ma'am.
wrong.
18 and up is where I'm coming
No,
from.
if
I
18
in
and
think
up.
we need to
Texas,
adopt the Negro's analysis, and everybody's a baby till they're 25, right? We got these a lot of
No,
babies
no, no.
walking around.
18 years of age
that's
to their
you.
legal
That's
age.
no.
Why not
That's you because
25?
he's charged as an adult. In Texas, you're charged as an adult at
And he should
17.
have never been charged because the
Everyone
police
is.
didn't even
Everyone.
check in with his
So
parents.
you're
The
saying,
police never even
wait,
checked in with his parents.
the Negro, you're saying because he's a Negro, he should not be charged as an adult, even though that's the law. Is that what you're saying?
No, no. What I'm saying is that because he was underneath the age of 18, they should have checked in with his parents. They never did.
What do
They
you mean
by the
checking
police
with his
report. No,
parents?
no. But wait, ma'am. By the police report, they went and just apprehended the
Of
young man.
course,
They
because you
never
committed
reached
a
out. Wait, wait,
crime.
wait, wait,
Oh,
wait,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry.
They
Wait, hold
never.
on, hold on.
They
Because you going down the yellow brick road. You mean to tell me when you stab someone and that person ends up dying, that you supposed to not arrest them, but apprehend them and take them to their parents' house?
Yeah. That's what I
Absolutely
for this
not. All right. So
situation.
let's
I'm all for that.
listen. You are entitled to how you
They drove
feel.
that white boy to Burger King. And everything was
You are
cool.
entitled to how you feel, and that's not the law, and that is not fact. But you're entitled to your opinion. So let me go back to Joseph. Then
Ma'am, there's
if
when a child
I'm
is in
going,
commission of a
hold on.
crime.
We're going back to Joseph.
The Negro, you have to stay on your mic
I'm
or we're
going
going to
back to
drop you. We'll
Joseph.
bring you back up, but you have to
I'll
show
swing
some
back to you,
restraint.
Negro. But I gotta go to Joseph, Chain, Deborah, Immortal, and then I see Rusty.
Okay, okay. Hello, can you hear me?
We could hear you. Welcome.
All right, yeah. So, earlier in the conversation, you brought up the dark alley, and it's like, you was talking about, the proportionate, reasonable. I think you said something about legal location or so forth. Then you brought up like, one can argue that if they got caught in a dark alley, that it would be more reasonable for them to defend themselves because they'll be perceived to be, more of a threat than in daylight at 10 o'clock at a track meet, right? But it's funny how if I tell you that a person that is of of a different background, or let's just say German or Irish or Scottish or whatever, under white, right, is around or in the presence of several black people, not even be standing amongst each other, but the only person out there, that they would actually be feeling the same way they would be if they was in the alley. And vice versa. There's black people that would, like this guy, Karmelo Anthony, under a tent, minding his business, and surrounded by a whole bunch of other people, strangers, aggressors, etc., etc. And that would be the same thing as someone being the same feeling, someone being in a dark alley, especially when being addressed inappropriately. The interesting part of it all is I was reading a lot of case law from the first room, a lot of case law. And what's very interesting about this case is that there's overwhelming support of case law. And what keeps being brought up, is this police report. So like we're really having a discussion over a police report, which is not even have been submitted as evidence. Like it hasn't even been submitted as evidence. The police report has not been submitted as evidence. It's just been issued to support, for the charge, which was by them. But the charge has not actually, obviously, it's not been indicted. So the state has. We don't know if the state has picked it up yet. However, let's just say that they do pick it up. Let's just say that he does get indicted. It's going to be dependent on his peers. I think that right now is too, premature for us to make any, for us to say anything and try to even base this argument. Like I was kind of laughing earlier because I was like, dang, I got tricked. Because I was just telling Dana one of the times, I was like, we shouldn't really be talking too much into it because we don't have the emotional discovery. As far as I've been looking, there hasn't been an emotional discovery because there hasn't been a case yet, right? So there's no discovery package, which will let you know everything that the prosecutor has on the defendant, everything, right? But that doesn't even exist. And with the overwhelming amount, from what I was reading in one of these articles, but again, you can't say it's official, but we can only rationalize that there was a lot of video footage from cell phones. We can only rationalize that police, the cameras picked up a lot of further details. And what we keep on doing, or what I keep seeing happening in this conversation, is that y'all read the police report, and the police report literally has one side of Karmelo Anthony saying, push me again and see what happens. Or touch me again and see what happens. Punch me again and see what happens. But I've been in that situation before. And it's never something that's just like one-sided where somebody just stands there and says, push me again, see what happens. And then you're like, look with a magnifying glass, waiting for someone to touch you with like one fiber of their skin, or hair follicle. You know what I'm saying? Waiting for that one little touch, and then it's on right as soon as they touch you, one little touch. No, the dude touched him, right? And what probably happened is he's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna punch in your fucking face, or I'm gonna beat your ass. You know what I'm
They
saying?
have to say stop saying the F word.
Oh, sorry, Dana. So sorry.
Yes.
I've been waiting for so long, man. I'm so sorry. And I do have control. It's just forgot that. I definitely forgot. It was more of a. All right, let me get past this. Right. So he probably said, I'm gonna, screw you up, and do you want good. If you don't get the hell up out of here, and the dude went to push him and stuff, and then he's like, what are you gonna do about it? I'm not going anywhere. And the dude's like, probably like, I'll punch you in the face. And the dude said, punch me. And the dude, Carmelo Anthony, probably said, punch me in the face and see what happens. There's no way you're gonna tell me that throughout this whole entire altercation with the aggressor approaching Carmelo Anthony, that Carmelo Anthony was the only person that literally just sat there silent. The only two things he said to this person was, touch me and see what happens. The dude touches him. No reverse communication, no response or nothing. And then Carmelo Anthony says, punch him in the face and see what happens. And the dude goes to punch him in the face, and then boom, he stabs him. You know what I'm saying? That's just not rational. And I don't think that we can even, if you try to like dispute me and say, well, that's not what's listed in the police report. Well, the police report is not actually the the actual situation that happened, right? That's what they have to try to create. That's what they have all this other evidence. That's where they have to pull out all the information. Now, what I'm going to finally say is this, right? In rare cases, defendant might be able to submit evidence if the prosecutor allows it. Okay, I found this. So, I remember earlier you was talking about. I want to make sure provide further clarity, because you're saying that that the defendant cannot provide exclusion exculpatory evidence, right? But in some jurisdictions, you actually can. Some jurisdictions have rules that require prosecutors to present exculpatory evidence that could be in favor of the defendant. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think New York is actually
In the grand jury process? In the grand jury process?
well, in the what I didn't the grand jury process, I didn't hear that portion, but I would say that I've seen a defendant may testify before a grand jury if they choose to, but this can be risky since the statements can be used against them later. And defendants do not have the right to present evidence to a grand jury, but because grand jury procedures are controlled by the prosecution, the defense typically, but it says typically, right, which means not 100% of the time, but typically are not allowed to participate in these hearings, meaning that the defendant cannot introduce evidence or call witnesses on their behalf. But there are different, unique cases, and New York is really is really weird place too, I would say, for the most part. I wanted to say this, and I just wanted to, because there was a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to finish off with this, right? So we were talking about, hold on, I have it right here. Marvin Clary versus the state of Texas. The defendant argued self-defense, and the court considered the concept of apparent danger, which allows a person to defend themselves based on a reasonable belief of imminent harm. And I'm just going to just run right through these. Rodriguez v. Texas, because then I'm actually one final question. Rodriguez v. Texas, 2021, and these are recent cases. Unlike the cases that was presented before, and Honorable Judge Joe Brown had responded, it was like exciting or something like that, or he says it was like great. This is beautiful. I had followed up like immediately after, because I already had the cases saved. People vs. Goetz, 1986. All of my cases are actually more recent than all these other cases too, by the way. Conversely, using a knife might be considered proportionate if the assailant is armed or significantly stronger. Courts often assess cases where defendants use knives against multiple attackers or opponents with clear physical advantages. Then you have Marvin Clary versus the state of Texas. The defendant argues self-defense, and the court considered the concept of apparent danger, which allows a person to defend themselves based on reasonable belief of imminent harm. Bundy versus Texas, that's 2009. The case involved a dispute where the defendant used a knife after being attacked. The court examined whether the defendant reasonably believed that he was in imminent danger. And I say all that to say to ask you this: how much danger are you in when you have when you're made aware that you're about to be that there's about to be an act of an aggression towards you?
I think it's subjective based upon the facts and the circumstances, right?
So, but ultimately, to make sure that you get the better end, or the the upper hand of whatever combat or dispute you're going to get into, you're going to obviously you're not going to hold back, right? You're not going to hold back, right?
You're going to fight for your
life.
You're going to have that go before a jury of your peers that's going to decide whether it's reasonable, proportionate, and necessary.
Wait, hold on. You just jumped the whole question. I want to have a dialogue with you. I want to have a dialogue. Just a quick dialogue. I think you had a dialogue with everybody else. I didn't get that same chance, to really have a complete dialogue.
I'm dialoguing with you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Calm down, man. It's okay.
I'm chilling regular.
Okay.
I'm on the beach right now.
All right. Chill. Yeah, I just came from Jamaica, man. It was pretty beautiful. That's good.
Peace. Blessings to you.
Yeah. So
this dialogue ain't gonna be too long, honey, because I gotta wrap this up in about 40 minutes. So come on.
I know. I just want to.
And to be fair, fair, Joseph, you really did have a long dialogue at the beginning of the space. So this your
I
second
had a
voice.
long submission. I had a long submission, but I didn't really get to
Whatever
have
it
an
was, it
exchange.
was a back and forth with you and Peter. But go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't proportionate.
Good. Oh, that was a good one. I like that. It was good.
Yeah. So here's the deal, right? So we both agree that when you're about to be attacked, you know what I'm saying, from someone, that there's a moment where you're going to fight for your life. Correct?
Yes, go ahead.
And you're not going to hold back, which means that by
Yes.
any means necessary.
Okay.
Okay, so in this situation, right, regardless of what the results was, right? We're talking about the action and the reaction. The action was the person threatened or made the other person feel threatened, and that person reacted, right, by doing what he felt was necessary. What he felt was necessary. And if we are saying, and like you said earlier, that it's perspective on, how someone may feel or whatever, then none of us can actually be right and saying that Carmelo Anthony did not feel that he was in imminent danger, or that he did feel like he was in imminent danger. But if Carmelo Anthony says that he was defending himself, which is what is actually in a police report, and I think there's way more than whatever that's in that police report, then if we're going to base everything on this police report like y'all been doing, then we also have to base the fact that he said he was defending himself, and that he didn't stab this kid twice, 3, 4, 5 times. He fucking stabbed him and ran. Like, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so you keep saying the F word, Miss. Like, and I'm tired of
No, I
telling
didn't
you.
say the F word.
Yeah, you did.
I said
You
3, 4, 5 times.
No, you just did. You just said the F word.
Yeah,
I
like
did.
I think that is really embedded in just people's brains, like a first language. But can
Wait,
you have 30 seconds?
wait. How did I say the
Listen,
F word?
I
My
have to get
apologies.
to the other speaker, so I'll give you
Okay.
30 seconds to land, and I
Okay.
gotta get to Cam.
Dang, where did I say the F word at? Dang, that's bad. It's
It
just
doesn't matter. If you feel you didn't say it, you didn't say it.
no, that's not the case. If I said it, I apologize, Dan. I mean, obviously I did if you said I did. So this case is just really it's just been very excessive. I've been hearing so much stuff and a lot of just nonsense. So I'm gonna just land on with this.
Joseph, 15-second response I got to you. But go ahead, land.
Yeah, so I'm gonna land with this, right? Carmelo Anthony acted in self-defense. There can be multiple actual defenses that can be used. There's self-defense, stand your ground can both be used if they wanted to. If they wanted to actually do that, because they both would be in cohesion. And according to how that's defined, he did feel like he was in imminent danger. He did act within his legal rights to do so. He did, as far as proportionate. It was his response was to neutralize, the threat. So the person died. And that's unfortunate, sad. Definitely sad. But we can't look at Carmelo Anthony for that. We got to look at the person that put their hand in the trap.
All right.
Gotcha. Dana, 15 seconds. Joseph, do you roll dice? You ever play CeeLo or craps?
You from us be up north. You know about CeeLo. Yeah, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, yeah, you play?
What's the
Not anymore,
question?
man. It's been like 20 years.
Okay, well, the point is, based upon your analysis, if you think that's the way to go and you're a dice roller, roll the dice and take it before the jury and see how you end up.
All right.
That's my submission.
Thanks. All right, I need to go to Chan, Deborah, Immortal, Rusty, and then if anybody is not requesting right now, the Rusty going to be the last person. Go ahead, Chan. Did I say your name right? I'm saying Chan. Chan Charles.
It's Chance, it looks like. Chan Charles, yeah. You're up, Chan Charles.
You have to unmute.
You got to come off that
Oh, then I
mic
got to
to
swing
be
back to the
heard.
Negro. Real quick, I just have one question for the Negro, and I just want you to do yes or no.
Uh-oh.
And yes or no, and then you're after Rusty, actually, the Negro. But the question is, can you be black and Italian?
The hell?
Yes, yes
Yo,
or
yo,
no?
I don't do no
Yeah,
hybrid.
it's a
No,
question. Can you be black
no,
and Italian?
no.
Okay, thank you. All right, mute up, mute up. I'm gonna come to you after Rusty. Chan, are you still there?
Chan, open your mic. We want to hear what you have to say. The world needs to hear you.
How you doing? Thank you for your patience. My
Peace and
good
blessings.
good afternoon to the host and the co-host and to the room. From what I've heard so far about the young brother, he was sitting down and the two brothers came up verbally accosting him and put their hands on him. My question is, how do you defend yourself when you sit down? What is the protocol of defending yourself when someone is standing over you, assaulting you? Because
Got to stand up. Got to stand up.
that's you came to someone standing over you, you're in a vulnerable position. And then when it's two guys standing in your way, there is no way to stand up without physically getting involved. So I'm trying to understand what was he supposed to do when he's sitting down and being assaulted. Thank
Are
you.
those the facts that we know that they were lording over, or they were like, leaning over him and he couldn't get up? Do we know that for a fact?
We don't know. What we do know is that he was sitting down when the two brothers came up on him. That's what we do know. That he was sitting down. He wasn't standing up. He wasn't stretching. He was sitting down on his phone. That's what we know for a fact. So it's easy to deduce that they when they did accost him, he was sitting down. And I'm pretty sure the facts will come out that when they put their hands on him, he was sitting down.
So the
So,
stab happened from a sitting position, you're asserting?
well, I'm certain that when it escalated, he was in the position of trying to get up when he was being assaulted. That's what I'm
So,
saying.
he was able to get to his feet and then retrieve the knife and consummate the stabbing?
Um, yes, because his bag was probably right next to him.
Okay. Listen, I'm excited for the video, man. I think we should have a video watch party when it comes out, so we can watch it over and over and slow it down frame by frame. What do you guys think?
I don't think you can handle the truth.
It's too much. It's too much feedback. Everybody need to be on a mic because I don't know if it's coming out of Chan's speaker or Peter's Obama Wi-Fi he got going on today. So all right. So I think Chan was done. I'm gonna go to Deborah. This is probably a double mute. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Deborah. You still there?
It could be the double mute.
It takes a minute. They need to fix that. It's been going on for over a year. Deborah.
Deborah, you're up when you can come off your mute.
Hi guys, I'm like going through all these apps. Um, I just wanted to say I sent Dana a message that I'm working, but like the start like the with the Negro and everybody, when people are talking, they're using the etymology dictionary, which defines when a word appeared. And my grandmother told me, who was born in 1910, that nigger, like the word nigger came from niggardly, Niggardly, which meant lazy, and that it was used on the Irish because they enslaved the lower classes on all of these continents, and blacks mixed, the whole Italian question. I categorize people by the country they immigrated from more than race, Italian, Scottish, African. Like with us, we have to find the country, that was when we were being stolen or whatever. And I think everybody, like needs to look at their lineage no matter you're white or black. And then these crimes, therefore, because like imminent threat is the word that keeps black people locked up, because we're psychologically upset about what happened to us, and we're living in poverty. And the whole system is supposed to have popped by now, where they could just like arrest us, like they did after Reconstruction. So we're really dealing with a lot of psychological trauma, and people are turning on people, because I can't really speak about what's happening with me now, but I'm so glad that I was given the love and energy, from my ancestors, my grandparents, and their siblings, more so than my mother. And my and she married another man, so who happened to be from Haiti, we think, but we don't, like, I can't, they have to do a DNA test to really signify that. So and I'm just looking at stuff like I don't have kids, and I'm so happy about that, but I do have kids, because there are a lot of kids whose parents haven't told them the truth about who they are, whatever. And this violence thing, it breaks my heart. So I don't really like to talk about it, and I can't talk about Carmelo Anthony, but there is imminent threat and cool down period. I'm learning a lot of stuff that I don't know, because I just stay away from the world because of everything, that people are allowed to do violently to other people without the victim having protection. And so, like, this whole situation, that's where it comes to me. That's where it comes down to, where only people that know the meaning of the law is going to be able to discuss it. So I think for me, it's just better not to listen and just let the cases come out. But Carmelo Anthony, I don't really know his situation, but if he was, like captain, and he was probably under a lot of pressure, he may have been afraid. And I wonder what his it'll come out, what he was feeling like when that happened to him, why he decided to do that. And then they'll decide if it's manslaughter, whatever. But that whole first degree criminal crap, that's all racist. And if it was another kid that wasn't him or his color, it would be different. So everybody needs to start looking at that, and try to get these judges out of here, and these people who decide these cases out of here. They need to be looking at crime on crime. And until they're doing that, they're just making money off of people being victimized and killed. And at least they have stand your ground in these states, and we'll see what happens. That's all I have to say, because I have to go back to work. Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Deborah.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Rusty, hold tight. Not Rusty. Immortal, hold tight. I'm gonna go to Rusty because she hasn't spoken, and then I'll swing back to you, Immortal, then Negro. Go ahead, Rusty.
Good afternoon, Dana.
Good afternoon.
I always love your spaces, but I'll be honest with you, I hate these cases because I'm really it's you'll hear something one day and it turns out, oh, something else comes out different about it. So it's like it's really hard to keep up with what's going on. And I know Judge Joe Brown said it before, is whatever you think is going on now is going to completely flip, or it can, before the end of the trial. And what really strikes me is when I hear some people talk, it scares me, because I'm like, holy cow. If I was ever in need of a jury and I got that person, I don't think because of the color of my skin I would get a fair trial. I really don't. And so I guess my question is, to the Negro, um, could you ever see, and I'm very curious about this, and I mean it, and I would like a very thoughtful response. Could you ever see yourself if you were in a jury, um, voting against a black person? Say if it was a black person that killed a white. I mean, could you ever see yourself voting to convict them, or do you really believe that um, it would bother you to do so? Would you have some conflict with that, I guess, is my question.
Okay. I have. So you're dealing with somebody who's wrote a book in the guise of saying that we need to create our own government, right? So anything that's dealing with the United States government, I really want Negro Black American people to do their own thing. And when it comes to the jury, I don't think that they're going to give me the opportunity. There was plenty of opportunities that they have already sent me home due to the fact because I'm a black man. I'm a black man who has a master's degree in criminal justice and various things. So therefore, I'm going to look at things a little bit more critical than the average black, even the black citizen, right? So no, I have never gotten a letter to go to do jury duty.
But I guess
So
I'm
they,
asking if
so
you
so so I
were.
was never. What I'm saying is, I was never afforded the opportunity, ma'am. That was because of racism,
So
discrimination.
you would let the black person go or convict the white person
No, I never
just simply
said that,
upon
ma'am.
color?
No.
I'm
I never
asking you
said
a
that. What?
hypothetical. Look, I've never been called up for jury duty. I'm asking you,
I
if
have
I'm
you
I'm
been.
I'm
were,
gi-
would
I'm
that be
I'm
an
giving you
issue
the.
for you?
I'm just giving you the reality of the situation. It was never afforded to me
Well,
to
I'm
make that decision.
51 and I've never been afforded it either. So, I mean, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I'd like to take a shot at that question. Um,
Well,
and I,
can you let them finish first, and then you're next, Immortal, after her. I want her to be able to flush out what
No,
she's.
I'm good.
I
That's
don't
it.
think the Negro wants to answer it.
I don't think
No,
he
I
wants
did
to. So,
answer it. I'm saying that I would never experienced it, so I can't speak on something I have never known or never have
well,
participated in.
you're speaking tons of hypothetical before. So, I mean, that's okay. But go ahead, Immortal.
No. I wasn't giving hypotheticals. I actually stated my position in the purple pill. You should look at it. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, he's reasonable. We know you're very reasonable.
yeah, I would go by the merits of the case. That's what I would go by. The merits of the case. That's exactly what I would go by. If, just like Negro said, if I was ever afforded an opportunity to serve on a jury. I've been called, do you know I get 2 or 3 jury summonses a year and never get chosen? In 30 years, I've never been chosen to be on a jury.
Immortal, what happens when you go? Why do they strike you?
I don't know.
You know,
What kind of
we
questions do
all
they ask
know.
you?
Probably a bunch of you people there, and they're saying we don't want him making this
There's a bunch of Sicilians
because
that run the
uh,
pool.
no, you people, the letter U people, uncivilized,
Oh,
uh,
I'm Sicilian.
uninspired, unintelligent. You people, you know what I'm talking about? You people.
Okay.
So you people, it's probably a bunch of you people up there, and they historically and statistically, and it's been studies done that they don't let us anytime they can strike us from a jury selection, they do it simply because of our race, and they can get 2 or 3 strikes without any reasoning whatsoever. Just look at you. Some people have come out and said it, say, no, you look too much like the defendant, so we're gonna get you out of here. They've come out and said
Do
Yeah,
you
it.
live in a majority black
those are called
white
preemptory
community?
challenges, and there's something called a Batson challenge, right? A Batson charge, where the prosecution or defense could bring up if on the face you're saying you're striking the person for one reason, but it's really a racial reason. It's called Batson, Batson. You can check it out.
In court and said it was because you look too much like the other person, and they got that off. So us being on jury duties, being in juries, making these kind of decisions, you really don't have to worry about that much because of the system that's set in place.
But is that also true for majority black communities, though? I wouldn't think that's true. And I've seen enough jury, especially high profile jury trials, where it's usually a good mix. It's like half
Well,
and
Wait,
they,
half.
can I
How,
respond to that? There's
how
something that I
often
do
do you
want to
see white
highlight.
people going on trial in majority black?
Listen, I'm not gonna. Everybody need to stay on their mic. Immortal, when you're not talking, mute up, because wherever you at is some noise in the background and it's messing up the algorithm. That's why it's important for people to stay on their mic as soon as they time to speak. It's Rusty turn, and then I don't know if you conceded to Immortal, and then the Negro.
yeah, I think it was I was cooking there. Anyway, so yeah, that's a good question. But and then if you look historically at juries and their composition, you'll find that black jurors we usually go by. We don't even know what jury nullification is, right? But that's something that's going to filter through our community as time passes, as we get more information that was kept from us for generations about the law. So we don't practice jury nullification. We usually just look at what's happening in the case, look at the evidence, and decide based on that. This cool down period. How do you fit a cool down period in the space of moments? That I keep hearing about a cool down period. So if I attack you, Peter, and then I hold off for 30 seconds and just give you some verbal threats, that's a cool down period because you already said, hey, I'm gonna do this to you if you touch me. But now I done relented. Now I'm gonna go back in on you. That was a cool down period. See, you reaching real far. You like the Fantastic Four. The way you reaching, bro.
I'll give you a perfect example if you want. You walk in upon your wife with another man. You leave because you're so overcome with emotion. You walk out. You say 30 seconds. You decide, nah, fuck it. I'm catching a case of the fuckets.
I'm
You're
trying to
going
be
back
that
in. You're
as co
lighting
host,
both of.
honey. You
I'm
should
sorry.
know.
I'm sorry. Are you
Hey, at least
catching
it
a
wasn't
case of
me.
the
Better
F's?
him, not me.
You turn around, go back in, and light the whole place up. Everyone's toast. You had a cool down period. You decided to go back inside and light everybody up. First degree murder right there.
Okay. 10 second, 5 second, 1 second
Wait,
cool
hold
down.
on for a second. Hold on. So are you talking about the husband that found the wife in the bed?
Correct.
But there are people who have gotten off because what do they call that? In the heat of passion.
Temporary,
Passion,
temp,
Yep.
provocation.
temporary,
Yeah.
You have to
temporary
have.
So
insanity.
there are
You
some
have to. You
people.
have to.
There are some people who have gotten off because they were in a state, a different mental state because of that situation.
Yes, but they have to have acted without a cooling off period. The cooling off period
Well,
in
we don't know
between
for
is what
sure
provides.
that the cooling off is all specific. One person on the space said cooling off, and we thinking that's what it is. That's still speculation as well.
Yeah,
So
there was.
Again, I was positing my theory for why the prosecution charged first degree based upon the statements. There could be new information that comes out that says that there was some type of back and forth before that provided additional cooling off period and it was potentially premeditated. We don't know. We don't have enough information. I'm not saying it was that way. I'm positing the theory of the prosecution. It's just my theory. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm just a sales guy from New Jersey. That's it.
and you don't even live in New Jersey right now, so stop. You're
I
so
ain't,
extra today.
I ain't,
Go
me
ahead,
buying.
Immortal. Go ahead and finish up Immortal because I gotta go to Brooklyn and Sherry.
Whatever he's selling, I ain't buying it. Listen, man, you was wrong about the last case because you don't get because you see it, but you want to pretend like the Allison case. You know what time it is. You know he's supposed to get some time for that, and you know why he didn't. And you wrong about this case right here too. You think this child is supposed to get some time when it's the co-conspirator in the attack who should be facing consequences because since y'all so concerned about that life. Because I think that the surviving twin, the fact that he lost his brother and his brother bled out in his arms and stuff, I think that might be punishment enough. But y'all want blood for this life. And so if that's what you want, you're not going to get Carmelo Anthony's blood. Get the blood of the person who was responsible for it. Since you're so bloodthirsty and so since you're you people, uncivilized, unreasonable, uncircumcised, all that, you people, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm Catholic, so I
All
was
right.
circumcised.
So
But anyway,
all right. So
you're right. Listen, Immortal, you're right. There's nothing to worry about. Happy days are here, and if you support Carmelo Anthony, you don't have to worry about anything. He's going to get off, and that's going to be it.
all right.
You're right.
So real quick, I did say I swing back to the Negro, then Brooklyn, then Sherry. So go ahead, the Negro, and then
Yeah.
Brooklyn and Sherry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing to Miss Rusty's point about which she was asking me the question. We got to keep in mind that the exoneration of Black American folks is very extremely high. The reasons why is because we're not participating in the criminal justice process especially when it comes to jury enforcement and other things of that nature. So yeah, I'm totally even in my book I talk about us creating our own government due to the fact of the injustice that we have been placed upon us since the days of slavery all the way to the modern era. So no, I don't. I've never gotten any jury letters or anything to support it. So I
Well, thank
can't
you
really
for
speak
not
to a hyper.
answering.
I could
Thank you for not answering my question.
no no
I have never even been invited to a jury pool either, to be
but
perfectly
you
honest
have
with you.
but ma'am, Miss Rusty, you have thousands of white folks that is represented.
Well,
Black men, black
maybe
what
in my
what
community, yes. So if you live
but
in a
what
majority
the
white
point.
community, chances are you're probably going to get a majority white
Yeah,
jury.
no, but the point that I'm hypothetically getting at is that when it comes to jury pools, we are the least people that are picked, but we're the picked for those type of situations. But we are the leading people when it comes to incarceration as well as exoneration rates. So when you have numbers like that, it shows that we're not we're being targeted, and we cannot even we're not fully integrated in the system when it comes to law enforcement in any capacity. So to ask that question, it's kind of, you got to know the history when it's specifically to a specific group of people such as myself and what I represent.
All right, real quick though, before I go to Brooklyn, I want to push back again with you, the Negro. When I asked you black and Italian, you said no, and you're wrong. You could be black and you could be Italian. You could be
They
black
were,
and you could be Greek. You could be black and you could be Ukrainian.
can I comment on that?
Well, let me finish talking first. Let me finish saying what I'm saying. Then you could definitely respond. So to the point of ethnicity, that's religion. It could be whatever, a culture that you share with a group of people. It could be a language, and it could be race. Negro means black person. Negroes, black people. It means black Negro. So again, if you're saying your ethnicity is Negro, you're basically saying, okay, you're black. And you said that race, that it does not include race, but it does. That's part of ethnicity. But you could be a black person and be Italian because you were born in Italy. Especially if you're born and raised, if you're born to Italian parents, because that's the nation, that's your nationality. Your ethnicity will be black, but and your nationality is Italian, just like I'm American because I'm from America.
All
So
right, all right.
yes, you could be black and Italian because your ethnicity is black, your nationality is Italian because you were born in Italy. So if you're going to use the term, or try to, and listen, I'm not trying to change how you
It sounds like
believe
you're
about
wait, wait.
stop.
Can
Didn't
I
I ask you to stop
respond?
interrupting? Didn't I ask you to stop interrupting? And you want to talk as soon as I'm finished because I'm directing this to you. So what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to sway you to think differently about this situation, but I would definitely never want a person like you, whether, I don't care if you're black or white or other, I don't want anyone who is so biased to the fact that you're going to try and make up your own definitions of different groups. And on top of that, you are judging an outcome of a case because of somebody's ethnicity and their race. And that's all wrong. That's because you can't even do it for gender. So that's a very dangerous position or way of thinking, especially if we're talking about the justice system. Justice is blind, and juries are not legal experts. They're not. But at the same time, you cannot be biased. You have to walk in there blindfolded, even though you're literally not blindfolded. So go ahead. And then after you, who was it? Brooklyn.
All right, there's a lot of things I got to unpack. I was trying to take it piece by piece. So when it when a person has two or more lineages, there would be considered biracial, even by like census and other things of that nature. I'm looking at it from a United States or a nationalist perspective. I'm not looking at it from a globalistic perspective or adding in mixture things of that nature, Miss Dana. I just got to keep it very straight with you about this. And to say that Negro is not a Pacific lineage, that is a race, it is a lineage because it has an ancestry. They have Negro ancestry. A major component about ancestry is to have a lineage, you have to have ancestry. So to dismiss it and say that Negro is not a lineage, that is a part of the lineal erasure that the
I
government
didn't
has
say it wasn't a
perpetuated.
lineage.
No, 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 no. When you keep equating Negro to race as being Black American,
That's
that
what
is a
the word
problem.
Negro
No, no, no.
is.
It does not
All
mean.
right. So then we're gonna have to pause because I'm not going. If you look up the word Negro, that means a black person. That falls under. That's one element of it. Ethnicity. So I didn't say nothing about not no lineage. Do not twist my words. I'm very clear. When you're talking about Negro, you're talking about a black person. Carmelo is black. What is his lineage? Is it Black American, meaning freedmen, meaning American descendant of slaves, or foundational Black American? Because that's considered lineage there. So we're assuming that yes. So you're talking about a Black American, a foundational Black American. You prefer the term Negro. Negro just means Black. A person from that was born in Africa and migrated here in 1960 and became a citizen in 1965 would still be considered a Negro. But he is technically still an immigrant because he's Black. So again, his ethnicity is not of mine, but he is still a Black person. Negro means Black. That's all I'm saying. The word Negro means Black. It means Black. And it did Negro, the whole term Negro did not derive from America. It's a very ancient name. So again, can you be a Black person and Italian? And I'm not coming at it from a global perspective. I'm talking about a person born and raised in Italy, but they don't look like, and I'm assuming Peter is a pale skin. They don't look like that. They have melanin because they're Black. Because maybe their parents came from Northern Africa somewhere, but they were born in Italy, raised in Italy, so they're Italy. Giannis, the NBA Black basketball player, he's from what, Greek? I don't think it's France, but he's from Greece. So he's Greek. He's a Black Greek man who, I guess he's American citizen. When he goes and play on the Olympic team, he's playing for his nationality, Greece, the country Greece. So yes, you could be Black and Italian. So if we're going to throw these terms out, if you want to claim something, you need to know the meanings. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead and land your plane, and then
Ma'am,
I'm going to
it
move on
deals
to
with.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, it deals with the part of being a Negro is being African descent, and it's tied also when it's in relation to United States is the transatlantic slave trade. I put up a meme up there. It was saying ancestry is the key component of lineage. So you can have a Negro ancestry, which is a fact, which you can look it up. So that means there's a Negro lineage. And you inflating Negro to make it a racial situation when I'm specifically telling you that it's a lineage and supported by lineage, that is the problem. And
Which
that's what I have.
lineage?
No,
Which lineage?
Negro. Negro is a
Which is
Pacific
what?
lineage.
What lineage is Negro?
Negro is branched off to Africa, which is African
Well, I'm
descendant
not
people.
African. You can't put
Then you're not a Negro then.
so again,
Then
so
you're not a
okay,
Negro then. Okay,
listen,
we're
so
good.
again, your whole semantics, your whole dissertation here, your whole perspective is so skewed. You're wrong. Your whole meaning of Negro is completely wrong, but you're going around calling yourself Negro, using the name
No, it's
Negro,
not.
and you
It's
don't
not
even
skewed.
understand the
You're
meaning of it.
making, ma'am. I'm not making a skew of it. And what I could do is not to hold up the stage. I'll get some definitions and I'll put it up there,
I know
and
the
you can go from
definition of
there.
Negro.
No, you're forcing your narrative or your definition that you may feel
I'm not
comfortable
forcing
with.
anything.
Dana,
That's just what
you
it
understand he
is.
can make up his own terms. You heard him, he could call a baby whoever he wants to call a baby. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
have to
All
go
yeah.
with
The
right.
this
same way
too.
you
So
made up the term about the cool off period for 3 days, though, Peter. But I'll
Right.
digress.
You sound reasonable. I'm sure people agree with you from listening to this.
did the you know what? I'll save the Negro thing because it's so I could go down so many factual lanes with you and tear you up with the whole Negro term and where that word "devout" from came from.
It's not a
But
term. It was a
we don't
group
have
of
enough
people
time
that were
right now.
lynched.
The Negro.
It was
So
terms that were not lynched. It was
so
people. So to
no,
say
I'm
that it was
not.
a term is
No,
disrespect.
I honestly, you cannot sit up here. You can't debate with me about Negro because you're out. You're not in
How
my
can I
league right now.
debate with
You're out of
somebody
the
that's not a
wilderness.
Negro?
You're not.
The
You're
Negro,
not.
would you go on Newsmax? If I can get you on Newsmax, would you go on and discuss these things?
No, man, you got to pay me.
You
I got a
should.
master's degree, brother. You
All
got to
right, I'm
pay
gonna
me.
go to.
No, but I want to get you. I want to sell your book, man. We'll get you on Newsmax. The world needs to
No,
hear
no, no,
these
no, no,
ideas. They're
no, no, no. You got to
fantastic.
pay me, brother. Pay me. I got a degree. I got class. I got school debt. I got to pay off, bro.
All right.
I could tell you're very educated.
So I'm gonna go to Brooklyn, then Sherry, and then we're gonna close out. Joseph, I'm not gonna swing back because you talked twice, and I really need to. Oh, B boy, I'm gonna go to B boy because he didn't speak twice, and then we gotta close because I gotta get ready to do a live show tonight. So go ahead, Sherry. No, Brooklyn, didn't Sherry, and then B boy.
Hey, I came up just in time to hear this woman bring up this hypothetical about, would you judge white people fairly if you were in a jury? And I'm just amazed that white people are always able to make it about themselves, to make themselves the victim. I'm looking at this title and I don't know what made somebody say that, what made that a topic, or why anyone engaged. That's ridiculous. White people have never been in any threat of being judged unfairly in this country. It's just in your head. And I just find it humorous.
Well, thank you. We really we needed to know that. Appreciate your perspective.
You're,
Salute,
Hey,
you're very
Brooklyn.
welcome.
Sherry, is Sherry still up? Yes, Sherry.
Hi. I'll just come from the perspective of the legal community. Uh, and I'm not going to say race doesn't matter because it absolutely does, but it is all about the money and who's fighting it. I could take literally, and I do have experience from city all the way to the Supreme Court. When I go into a case, I go into a case to win. And literally, I would literally, if I was going to put all you guys on my jury, I would research each one of you. I would look at your Facebook posts. I would look at everything about you. And yes, race matters. But in the end, my only goal is to win. So I'm going to put people on that jury that are going to have a favoritism towards my client. And it's either side. If I represent the criminal or I represent the prosecutor, whoever, it's to win. It's not a fair thing. Anybody who thinks that the judicial system is a fair thing, think again. All about the money, what forces you have behind you, and it's definitely, there to win. Whether your client is guilty doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right from wrong and what's just and what's fair and all of that. Perfect quote from one movie that I enjoy watching periodically is the movie Primal Fear, where Richard Gere says, if you want justice, go to a whorehouse. If you want to get beeped, go to court. I'm sorry, but it's a great idea. It's idealistic as all get out to have that justice feeling. But those people that are in there have a purpose. The attorneys are looking to get paid, get further future clients. Prosecutors are looking to be judges, investigators, paralegals. There's always something there, and your only goal is to win. It's not about right or wrong. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Crystal clear. Thank you, Sherry.
I don't think anybody in the judicial system is going to be making it to heaven anytime soon, is pretty much what I'm hearing.
Yeah, oh yeah, because it's really a shit show. It's supposed to be blind, supposed to be fair, but
And it's the fairest system on the face of the planet.
well, I know in France you're guilty and you have to prove yourself
That's
innocent.
pitiful if you think that.
So, and here in America, you're innocent
Name a better
before you're
system.
proven guilty, but it's a
All
whole
of them.
bunch of stuff mashed up in between.
What?
All right,
All of them.
so
Now prove me wrong.
I'm sorry, who is
Listen,
this? Who is this talking?
another brain surgeon.
Okay. So, B boy,
Hey, hey, Dana and Peter. Thanks for letting me get back on. I'll be brief. I'm gonna correct myself on something. I put a video in the purple pill, but I wanted to go back to the title and again talk about why I think it's very telling that Carmelo has not been indicted by a grand jury yet. Now, the correction I wanted to make is that no, a defense attorney is not allowed to be in a grand jury hearing. This is
Thank you.
no, that's correct. However, if you have legal representation, uh, a good defense lawyer can put together what's called a grand jury packet, which is counter evidence that they can look at. Now, the thing about that is, and this is the reason why Carmelo Anthony not being indicted is telling to me, at least, is because it's so easy for a grand jury to indict because it's very one-sided. There's not even a judge there. There's simply the jurors and the prosecution and whatever witnesses they have. So it's completely biased and it's held in secrecy. So it's real. That's why this phrase, a jury can indict a ham sandwich, is a thing. And so my thinking is that it should be very easy to indict. And because they have not yet, shows me that they don't have evidence that would be convincing to a grand jury. So I just wanted to leave
So
that. And again, I put a video on the purple pill. Dana, thanks so much for hosting this space.
I appreciate you clearing that up and coming back to tell us that. But you can't make an unworded assumption saying that they have, because they haven't pushed it for the grand jury yet. That means they have a weak case. They
I understand.
literally, they're on a. Yeah.
No, it's I agree with you. I'm just looking at it from my perspective. Is that I was indicted within 72 hours. So that I'm looking at it from that perspective, because again, it's very easy to indict because and again, when the prosecutor is in that secret room with jurors, no judge, they can state everything as if it's fact. So it's very easy to convince a grand jury to indict.
Absolutely.
All right. One question, and I just have one question to the Negro. Can you tell me the the origins of the word Negro? Where did it come from?
From my perspective, it's Negro land, ma'am. There's books and scholars and maps that support my perspective and or narrative.
What
And it's
language?
the language, ma'am.
Where was it derived from? Where did it originate from?
He just told you,
I
Negro land.
told you, Negro land. Yeah, I
What's
just told
Negro
you.
land? Okay,
It's
so
there's maps on it.
Negro is actually a Spanish and a Portuguese word.
No, that's
It
no. I'm
is.
telling
It
you, no,
is
no, no.
Negro.
I'm
Listen,
telling
listen,
you that.
listen. Negro originated in Spanish and Portuguese, and it means black. And it derived from the Latin word niger, Niger, in Latin. And the Portuguese and the Spanish converted it to the word Negro, but it still means black person. It means black person. And then, of course, here in America, because they use that word to describe the people from Africa, especially the ones that they have brought on slave ships, west and east and south of the continent of Africa. But then also the Americas use that term going all the way back to the 1700s. That was the 1800s, up until the 1960s. But they really stopped using that because it is offensive. But if you want to call yourself that, by all means, but you need to know the origins of the word. It wasn't created by the white people here in America. It was actually Spanish, Portuguese that derived from Latin, the word Niger. Just like slave is really sloth, Latin too, because there were slaves prior to the transatlantic slave trade. There were always slaves since the beginning of time. So again, you need to understand the meaning of the words. Shout out to Minister Jap. And let me just say this. I appreciate everybody on YouTube listening. Please share and like. Everybody here listening, please repost. And all the speakers that came up, I really appreciate you guys for coming in this afternoon. And let me say this, Caysen Allison should do some time, and he is, but I don't care, 17, 18, 16, 15, anything teen, well, it will depend, not going too low. Let's say 14 and up. If you do something, if you have a weapon and you use it on someone and it ends up in that person dying, you should do some type of time, whether it's in juvenile or adult prison. I don't know what is going on across this nation with the teenagers, but they don't understand consequences. They do not know how to resolve conflict. They are weak. They are scared. They are punks. And, for you to take a knife and stab somebody 5 times, I don't care what color, because there are a lot of black people that have done, black teens that have stabbed another black teen. So whose side you want to pick? Or do you want justice? Because as a parent, when my son and his friend leave school when they were in high school, and then they're surrounded with a whole bunch of boys who were just all black, and one had a knife, they didn't use it on him, but they was just trying to rob him. You showed a knife to intimidate instead of fighting with your fists. What if he would have stabbed my son and my son died? Should I say, oh, he's a baby or he's a child, so let me send him to his parents' house and deal with it then? Fuck no. Now, my son didn't get stabbed, you know, got robbed or whatever. My son would have shot the fair one. But if my son even had a knife, I would have taught him not to use it. Because if you, and I would tell him, if you do use it, if somebody pulled a knife out on you, when you use it at home and you end up killing him, these are going to be the consequences. Are you willing to accept that? None of these two kids, Caysen or Karmelo Anthony, was taught that shit. And I don't give a fuck what the videotape comes out as. Because it may be, yes, it could be self-defense. I'm not denying that. But you chose to use a weapon, no matter how small or big it is, against someone, and it resulted in death, and you thought that it wouldn't because you didn't think past your actions. And that is the problem that I'm having. I don't care what gender, what color, what religion. You're not thinking past your actions. You're just acting, and then you want to think about it. And that is the failure of the parents. That is the failure of the adults in society. That is the failure of the school system. That is the failure of the legal system. That's the everyone who are older than them and know better, and you're not teaching them better. I let everybody talk because I'm about to close out to prepare for my live show tonight, which I'm kind of going to tinkle on this as well.
Dana, quick point. I think that the Negro has a profound way of looking at the world, and his worldview needs to be shared far and wide. Let's give him an opportunity to plug his book so more people could adopt the baby mentality. Babies are 18 and younger. Those are just the babies. So would you want to
No,
give him a
I
chance
mean
to
the
plug his
Negro can
book?
always promote. I get if you want to promote Negro in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, go ahead, just promote
Well,
his
well,
book.
well,
And did you
well.
put
It's
it in
You
the
see,
book? You want
Negro,
to
I'm for you,
promote it?
man. I want you to promote that book.
Oh yeah, yeah. Call my book a baby book, and I know that you don't have the educational background for what. But I'm not going to digress. Delineationology. Yeah, if you guys like what I'm talking about, that we need to delineate and with the intentions of building a nation. I think that that's better for Negro Black American folks, so we won't have to worry about our children getting mass incarcerated and dealing with stuff like Carmelo Anthony from people who think like what my man Immortal was saying. The you people in society. We want to get away from these you people who are evil, who don't want to see justice and don't want us to see justice in any capacity. Those are those you people.
And the Negro, you're advocating for
But
separation, right?
I'm advocating for delineation. That's what I'm advocating. That's
No
what the
sep.
book
Wait,
is.
do you want
Delineationology.
separation? Do you
Sep-
want
wait, wait, wait.
a
Separation.
FBA state?
There's a difference between delineation and separation, and I'm glad that you kind of touched upon this briefly.
You're welcome.
Separation is done by the United States government, and they did that in a form of discrimination, and that has historical connotations to our community, right? While delineation is a choice that we're making to preserve ourselves from the criminality of other ethnic groups, including the white ones, the melanated ones, the yellow ones, you name it. So there is a difference,
Right,
Peter.
but do you support what Lloyd Kelly is actually touting, which is total separation?
I don't know what Lloyd Kelly's. I wrote a book, bro. So I don't know what that young
Who's
man is
that?
doing. And Lloyd Kelly.
Lloyd
Yeah,
Kelly,
I don't
Lori?
know.
Dana.
I
Lloyd,
don't
you know
You said
Lloyd.
like.
Lori?
I don't. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what
I
Lloyd
don't.
Kelly does. I
Who
know
is
what
Lori?
I've done.
That's a woman? I never heard
No,
of
no,
that.
he's a black man.
No, Lloyd.
Yeah, he's a.
Dana, we've had Lloyd in the space
Lloyd, I
before.
thought you
Lloyd
said
Kelly.
Lori. Is Lloyd?
No, Lloyd. Lloyd Kelly. Yeah, Lloyd Kelly advocates for total separation. He wants actually a whole new organization separate from every professional sports league. Everything is going to be separated.
So
So I'm
then,
just
so
asking
then
if the
why don't
Negroes.
okay?
Um,
So then why don't he get some financial people, some black financiers, some black venture capitalists, and have them invest in whatever. Go do it.
that. Yeah,
This is
that's.
hold on for a second, the Negro, and please put your book in the blue pill. And look, every time you come up on a space, yes, you can definitely promote your book. I want you to do that. Um, Lloyd don't speak for me. The Negro doesn't. Nobody speaks for me except for me. So I don't listen. But people who have these ideas of, well, we need to separate. We need our own this. Go do it. Look, start where you can. But those same people, like a Lloyd, he's not even starting where he's at. What does he own? Matter of fact, even better, what are you creating? I create media, my own media company. It's very small, but it's growing. I have a vision. It's going to eventually, step by step, I'm going to need capital where I want to go with my vision. What is he creating besides an X space? No shade, but it's still shade.
Well, he's taking credit for some of the money raised for Carmelo and the bail
He didn't
reduction
even
and
start
the
that. He didn't
notoriety.
even start that fundraiser. So he didn't even create that. He's promoting it, and that's fine. But he didn't even create that. I look at it like this: if you're not creating, people who are talking like Lord and whoever else, if those people, if you see them not creating shit, I don't care what color you are, what background, what religion, what gender, what sexuality. If you ain't creating shit, you ain't about shit. That's bottom line. I don't give a fuck if you're white, if you're a woman, I don't care. If you ain't creating shit, you ain't about shit. What has Lloyd created? Okay, the Negro, you wrote a book. I don't know what your vision is, so I'm not gonna say you're not trying to create something, but you wrote a book. There, so you trying to be a scholar. I get it. Now you got to get the definition of Negro right. But yes, but again, what are you creating? Are we creating an environment to where we allowing teenagers to run amok and not take fucking accountability? Caysen Allison got a slap on the wrist.
Babies, Dana, not teenagers,
Yeah, but they're
babies.
not babies to me, and that's the problem. You want to baby these boys, what, black boys and white boys. It's just that, yes, here in America, if you are a white boy, history has shown us that they are not baby, but they are protected. However, we supposed to be in a quote unquote so-called racist free society. We're on merit. This is about merit. So it should be equal. Carmelo Anthony and his family should not be receiving death threats. He should not sit up here and be called all these derogatory names, especially if you ain't gonna do it for Caysen. He stabbed somebody 5 fucking times. One, two, three. He just lost his mind, started stabbing them. And then lied to the cops that only stabbed him once. So he sat and he thought about it. But he got off, which means he's only gonna get 6 months to 2 years tops. And I doubt if he even get the full 2 years. So what are we teaching the youth? That's really the problem. We haven't even talked about the black boy that shot 5 kids in his high school, and then he got on social media talking about something. I had to get them before they got me, and it was over a dice game. So are black people going to hold spaces to start holding these young black people accountable so we could teach them to do better? Forget about everybody else. How about y'all own to do better and to start thinking? Because white people do educate their kids on the fucking. Because them white kids that get in trouble at school, they know to shut the hell up until my parents call a lawyer, and they would tell the principal, I don't have to talk to you. I don't got to talk to authorities because I'm under 18 and I'm waiting for my mom to come here with a lawyer. And then that's it. They teach their kids. What are you teaching yours? So, yeah. Um, but thank everybody for tuning in. And we're not doing a space tomorrow, Peter, right? We're just going to do one Sunday.
Sunday, yep. And maybe if we could sneak one in if you want during the week, maybe Friday or Saturday. But yeah, Sunday would be the next space.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
I just like
Okay.
to say this was a great space, Dana. I always appreciate and love co-hosting with you. Salute to all the speakers, even the ones who I had some spirited discourse with. Without unsung heroes like yourselves, we wouldn't have this great show to put on because you guys help to make the content and make it great. And shout to Braveheart Briss. We need more reasonable, neutral, and dispassionate observers like you. And salute to you, Neff.
And
And
one
that's
last
I'll
thing,
sign off.
if the guys that call themselves surrounding my son and his friend, and one guy pulled a knife out, if he would have, so what happened? The cops did end up coming. They found the guys. They booked them or whatever, but they let them go and stuff like that. But then I had to call the prosecutor office, and she asked me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to press charges?" I said, "Well, if I don't, what's the alternative?" And she was like, "Well, we'll put them in a juvenile program, not jail. It's just a program, that he go to after school, whatever, whatever." I said, "No, I want him to go to the program. I don't, because he was a repeat offender." I said, "I don't want charge. I'm not going to press charges. Put him in the program or whatever." I don't know what program that is. Maybe it helped. However, if he would have stabbed my son, I would have said, I want to press full fucking charges. If my son would have died, I want him to be charged with capital murder. That's where I'm coming from. and he was black. I don't care because my son ain't here. That's where I'm coming from. So I'm supposed to say, well, he's a black boy and he didn't know no better. And the system is, we have a racist country, so don't throw the book at him. I ain't thinking about none of that because I'm thinking about my kid that was harmed. And so y'all can take it whatever you want. I'm on that type of time. You're not gonna hurt my kid because of your upbringing. Sorry. And matter of fact,
And
I think
Dana, murder
parents
charge
need to
in New
be
Jersey
taught.
is 30 with a 30.
Huh?
Yep. I said murder charge in New Jersey is a 30 with a 30. That means you do day for day
And
30
I said this in the
years.
beginning that Carmelo and already with Caysen, because they're in Texas, he better be glad he's gonna get a fair trial in Texas as opposed to if he was in New York or New Jersey. So because he's black American, if he was an illegal, he'd get off in New Jersey and New York. So
Oh yeah, but because of his status in Jersey and New York, they would have smoked his boots.
right.
Smokage.
So
Maximum
I'm a
smokage.
parent. You hurt my child the way Carmelo did, Caysen did. Oh no, honey. First degree. So that time I'm on. I don't care what color you are. I don't do that tribalism shit. So anyway, thank you, Lamar. He says great show. All right, everybody have a wonderful week. And listen, I am going live tonight on YouTube at The Real Danas. Please subscribe and please join me at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye. Mark, honey, you late. No, honey. Mark, I'm not. No, we closing out, Mark. I got to get ready for my show. We'll see you another time, Mark. All right, good. I'm about to say good night. Good day, everybody. All
Later,
right.
Dana.
See you, Peter.